Whoop. Just explode the music there. What's up, y'all? Press the wrong button. What button did you press? What button did you press? Oh my god. When's the live stream gonna start? You mean like vlogging and stuff? Like where you follow me around as I do absolutely nothing exciting? Finally made it to a live. What's my ethnicity? I am from under the earth. We call ourselves mole people. We're actually completely blind. And when we see the sun, we hiss. Let me get something off my chest. Ah! Ah! Never date a personal trainer and nutritionist? Ugh. How come? What happened? How have they betrayed you? They got you in too good of shape. Hello, Joel called. I forgot this past week my membership was due and I forgot to pay it. So now I'm back to square one. You know, I think it actually accumulates over time as far as like indicating how long someone has been a member. What's the background music called? This is called, well, the playlist is called Wandering the Abyss. Deep lo-fi beats on the Dream Hop YouTube channel. But this beat specifically is called T-Strat 3, The Hollow Tree. David De La Rosa with the 2 says, hey, I miss you. How are you doing, buddy? I'm doing good. Doing good, David. Good to see you. Vampire. I used to be a vampire. I am a vampire, I am a vampire, I am a vampire. I have lost my mouth. Are you going to be playing Roblox? I wish, dude. I tweeted about Roblox the other day. When someone wakes up and says, time to seize the throne. And then you log on to Roblox. Can you say my name, Jay? Jay No Say. What's up, homie? Making some chicken noodle soup right now. Let's frickin' go. It's got the chicken. It's got the noodles. It's got the soup. Been listening to lo-fi for years. Crazy to see how much it blew up. Seems like the chill step has fallen off a bit. Yeah, what would be the differentiating factor between chill step versus lo-fi? What games do I play? Well, I've been playing a lot more of... Well, actually, recently I've been playing some Deep Rock Galactic with my friends, just for fun. And it's pretty sweet. Especially, like, whenever you make pipes and stuff. You can make them like a roller coaster, and it's pretty hilarious. But I have many, many moons and hours of Overwatch, regrettably. And, yeah, I've also been playing another Blizzard game called Hearthstone Battlegrounds. And that one's a lot more chill. Even though it is kind of RNG, it's still kind of a nice little pastime. I feel like every match usually takes like exactly 24 minutes. Jenna Green with the 2 Canadian. Hiyo. What's up, Jenna? Balls deep in the Yakuza series myself. Nice. How is the Yakuza series? Is it... It's more of a life simulator situation, isn't it? Like there's... Or a lot of it's like based around combat, I think. Melee combat. Never got into Overwatch, played COD a lot. Yeah, I don't know. I don't have much faith in the Overwatch series anymore. I mean, they even just today, one of their lead character designers, hero designers, just left. Or officially left, even though I guess he announced back in the beginning of the year. But, I don't know. If he was responsible for designing the likes of which is Doomfist, Orisa, and Echo, then maybe it's for the better, because no disrespect to them, but man, some of the heroes are just so fucking either unfun or unfun to play against. I like the sound of your voice, Mr. Man. You're still addicted to Bloodborne? That's awesome. Bloodborne has a great, deep, rich lore. And I enjoy that, and some really great aesthetics. Not a fan of the Soulsborne type games, but I can definitely respect the level design, art, and lore for show. Alex Love, welcome to the Buttersock Cult. You now have access to bonus content, which, by the way, for anybody that does have a green name and is a member on here on YouTube and Patreon as well, you now have access to new, like, basically on the podcast, I had, like, dark ambient music, like, produced specifically for it. Well, that is put into, like, an hour-long compilation if you want to check that out. It's pretty sweet if you just need something to set the mood, and that exists exclusively over there. Ever played Fortnite before? I played Fortnite. Not a fan, really, at all. I wasn't really a fan of, like, battle royales in general. I just thought landing, looting, and getting killed instantly was just not a good time. And Horror Over Coffee, welcome to the Buttersock Cult. You now have access to that bonus content I was just talking about. Tiffany, I will remember you. The person who wrote in all capitals. L's theme starts playing. Mwahaha. Battle royales are lame. Yeah, I guess it just makes sense, you know, if you grew up with it, like if you were, you know, in middle school or younger, growing up with Fortnite and those battle royales, you just kind of get used to it. Whereas, like, me, I grew up around that time playing fucking Halo 2, you know what I mean? Shit like that. So it's like I had more of a different sort of presentation on what it meant to play, like, shooting games and multiplayer games and that kind of thing. Yo, Hawk Daddy, what's up? I think I saw Oxy in here as well. The Mod Squad. Hugh Janus with the 2. Thank you, Hugh. Nutter Butters or Oreos? I think Oreos for sure. Oreos are very fucking addictive. It's a little wild how addictive they are. Once you have one of those, you go into snack attack mode. And you just need to shovel an entire sleeve into your mouth. The only thing that would make Oreos better is if the cookie didn't rip up the fucking roof of your mouth. If it maybe it was a little bit softer. I remember they made those Chips Ahoy's soft cookies. Those are so fucking good. I'd like to know what chemical they put in it to keep it nice and moist. Hello there. I was like late 20s when Fortnite came out. Yeah, I mean, that's not to say, like, my old roommate's the same age as me, 32, and he still plays Fortnite and really enjoys it, so. Alexa, what's up? How am I today? I'm good. I've been kind of in a good routine lately, you know, waking up at a good time, getting my... I've been working out like fucking 6 days a week. Well, 5 days and just like weight training and then some walking, but then like I'll bike on Saturdays just for fun. And it's been okay, you know, just sort of having that stimulation, but it's a little repetitive, I suppose. But at the end of the day, I guess we have to be thankful for the routines that we have, because they could be taken away from us at any time, and then we'll long for those days, you know? But I guess that doesn't mean that we shouldn't shoot for new experiences as well. You're 32, that's 32 old, that's cool. Yeah, I'm a little elderly, huh? Joel getting swole. Always. I think once you kind of get into weightlifting, you know, you just you never want to give it up, you know what I mean? And that's the thing, is I notice, like, as I'm getting older, into my 30s, like, if I slow down, if I stop, it's just, like, that much harder to, like, play catch up again, you know what I mean? To feel what it is you felt before. So I'm just like, you know what, fuck it. I'll just work out till I'm fucking dead, I guess. I don't know. Squawk, 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 squawk. David De La Rosa Jr. with the 2 says, George, you ever played Duke Nukem back in the 90s? You know, I never actually officially got to play specifically Duke Nukem. I did definitely play some Doom. And I remember my uncle, he had a computer with quite a few games on it and stuff, and it was like the older Doom. So maybe we did play Duke Nukem on those ones, but I think it was more of the Doom situation. But I remember, like, people waiting forever for Duke Nukem Forever, and it was, from what I heard, quite a disappointment. Do you play basketball, mister? You know, I have played basketball, like pickup. I never played on a team or anything like that, but I do play with friends. But that's one of those sports, like, I used to play all the time in, like, middle school and high school, like, as just pickup games, and a little bit, I guess, in college. But it's one of those things that I wish I could just go do right now with adult friends or whoever the fuck, but maybe I could join a league. But I'm just like, you know, I don't have those, like, base basketball skills that are, you know, sick nasty. I can't throw it off the heezy. I can't alley-oop. Alley-poop. Klaus with the 2 says, what's up, Joe? I post every story on social media. Well, thank you, Klaus. I appreciate that. Appreciate the share. Appreciate the word of mouth support. You ate 2 cookies and they're messing up my stomach. Uh-oh. I guess you just need to take a break from the foods or find something that agrees with your innards. It's time to kick ass and chew bubble gum. And I'm all at it. Or what is it? Kick bubble gum and eat ass. I forget what it was. You know you can dunk. Let's read. Yeah, my hops are less than impressive. There was only one time in my life, probably like 10 years ago, that I could jump and, like, touch the rim, but I don't think I ever officially, like, dunked a basketball. Do you think you will ever get a better R-rated Spawn movie or R-rated Violent? The Mask. They make a Jim Carrey Violent Mask movie. Spawn was good, though. I liked Spawn back in the day. That was, like, one of my favorite movies when I was younger. I remember, like, John Leguizamo as the clown. I remember, like, specifically being excited that the movie was on, and my aunt had, like, heard the part where like John Leguizamo's a little clown character gets, like, blown up, and he's like, all right, see you at Samantha's, as he's like like flying through the air like Team Rocket. And I just remember my aunt being like, ew, like, laughing as she saw that. And I remember as a kid just, like, having this weird sense of glee that I got to see her reaction to that part. Yeah, Spawn was sick. I just love the aesthetic of Spawn, just the fucking giant cape. And I remember I actually had, like, the devil or whoever was supposed to be, like, that giant dog demon in hell. It was just so corny now looking back on it, but I remember I had, like, the toy. I had the merch, Spawn merch. It's kind of crazy, like, how many movies I saw growing up with John Leguizamo and just never knew who he was till I was older. Blasting off at the speed of light. But yeah, anyways, we got, tomorrow's going to be a sick video. I will say, if you guys recall me working with a channel in the past, probably over a year ago or more, called Dark Echoes. Maybe even longer than that. But I worked with a channel called Dark Echoes, where they actually film true scary stories, like, and do live action films for it, but then it's still narrated over by different narrators, which is super cool. And their production, had been slowed down quite a bit because of the whole COVID situation. And so I think they're getting back up and running, because I think he works with a lot of like student actors and students and stuff like that. And so tomorrow's first story is going to be sick. It's actually going to be a live action story narrated by myself, and then it will be of part 1, and then part 2 will be over on the Dark Echoes channel. So if you want to go subscribe now so you can be ready for that, that'll be dope. And then obviously I'll be reading the rest of the stories that you'll hear tonight, and I'm recording those tonight. Need to partner up with Dark Sodium. I think he would love that nickname. Hey guys, it's me, Dark Sodium. I'm extra salty. Yeah, galactic bitch, it's gonna be frickin' sick. Sick nasty. Do you have any kids? No, just a 8-year-old black cat named Pradeep. He is not here right now. He hates me. Just kidding. Do you remember how cheesy the Super Mario Brothers movie was, but now it gained a massive following because of how bad it was? Dude, when you're a little kid, you just watch the same movies like 100 times in a row. And I remember, the live action Super Mario Brothers one was one I had on VHS. And I just watch it over and over and over and over and over again. And it's just so funny looking back on it, because it was such a far deviation from, what Mario is or currently is. It's so weird to me how Hollywood takes these like video game movies and just consistently ruins them. But I also think it's really funny because apparently that Super Mario live action movie was mainly just a way for like the mafia in like New York to funnel a shit ton of money, or like, I don't know what you call it, do money laundering. That, at least that's what I heard, that the movie had a lot of very oddly unethical practices going on. Yeah, watch them on VHS till the tape messed up. I remember one time, like, I was like, I must have been like 4 years old, and I completely fucked up my babysitter's VHS player because I put the tape in like backwards, upside down, and I just didn't understand why it wouldn't go in, so I just like shoved it in the fucking VCR, and then like it just wouldn't play, or like played like distortedly, and then like, they're asking who, because there was a few of us kids there being sort of babysat in like a daycare fashion. She's like, who did this? Who did this? There's gonna be a Constantine 2. Oh shit. Yeah, I remember like, what's his name? Keanu Reeves was on like quite a goddamn roll there for a little bit. And then Keanu Reeves was on quite a roll. And then he did, what the fuck? Yeah, like the Bill and Ted, reboot or whatever. The Bill and Ted Excellent Adventure sequel kind of bombed. And then, what was after that? There was, fucking Cyberpunk bombed. Oh shit, is it read time? It's read time, baby. Let's get it. I was a little hellion. Yeah, I definitely made one or two very silly maneuvers. Jacob Bowling with the Tuesday Joel. Tomorrow I will do quadriceps surgery. Oh. Shit, man. I'm sorry to hear that, but I hope it goes well. Are you going to be doing the surgery or getting surgery? He's still on a roll. I would say so, but sometimes whenever you're just like not a fan of someone's like projects, it's just like hard to stick with it or be like too stoked about the next thing. And Christnopolis with the 5 gifted memberships. Thank you so much. Welcome, Brandy Rush, Sarah K, James, Hawk, and Fry, 2 of the mods to the Buttersock Cult. You guys now have access to bonus content. Thank you so much, Christnopolis. Appreciate that. And Alex Love, thank you for the 10, showing some love. Says, hey, it's been almost 2 years of being a member of this amazing community. I took some time away, but I'm back. I'm so excited for tonight. I missed you. We missed you too, Alex. Thank you for coming back, and I hope you're doing well. What's the good news? How has your reprieve been? Your Rumspringa. Your Rumspringa from the Buttersock Cult. Do you ever mess up reading? Oh yeah, I mess up all the time. You'll hear tonight as I'm recording. Probably make like over 100 mistakes. Joel, Let's Read was the channel that got me into all the true and fiction horror story podcasts, creepypastas and stuff. Oh, that's awesome. I was the influence. Joel, should I drop introduction to exceptionalities because the professor is insufferable? The withdrawal class button is really sexy right now. What is it? Introduction to exceptionalities. What does that even mean? I never even heard of that. Let me look it up. Copy. Paste. Exceptionalities. The quality. Wait. Exceptionalities class. Students. Introduction to exceptionality. Is it like a teaching thing? Okay. Educators of all levels refer to special needs students are those with exceptionalities. Okay, it's like a terminology for people with special needs. Okay. Intellectual, communicative, sensory, behavioral, physical, multiple. Well, I guess it just depends on if you need it for your major. Like if you're going to be in a, a teaching, direction, I guess, or course direction, and that's something that you need. But if it's just something on the side that you need, that's like an elective and it's just too much for you, and there's still time to withdraw without it hurting your GPA and or your bank too much, I mean, perhaps. Intro to Exceptionalities is a special education class, a special education major. I will be a special education teacher. Well, that's the thing, is like it sounds as if though you might need it, you know what I mean? So to back out of it, unless you like know that there's another professor that you could get into that was a lot, that your friends or something have told you is a lot more doable, or I guess I don't know the specifics. But Stephanie Shark, welcome back for half a year, says, hey Joel, how you doing? Tuning in from the lab. I'm at work, kind of random, but would you ever dress up as Ghostface for Halloween? I mean, I could. I remember I actually dressed up exactly as Ghostface when I was younger. But it was so annoying wearing like that big sort of, black gown that he has to have on. And because I just remember I was like tripping over it whenever you're trying to like run. And then I don't know. I hate like wearing a mask for Halloween because you can't see shit. It's hot. The peripherals are bad. Like you just, like unless you were just like handing out candy or something like that, maybe. So that when people rang, you're like, ooh. It's offered over the summer with a professor that I really like, so hopefully I can do that. Yeah, if that's definitely doable, doable like my mom, exactly. Don't talk about Mrs. Reed like that. Waffles sound good, yeah they do. Have you ever read any sex workers or stripper stories? Not necessarily exactly like a topic per se of like a whole video, but definitely stories that have involved like sex workers, escorts, those kind of things. Like, I think a lot of them like in the true crime sense, because unfortunately that population is pretty heavily targeted. Okay, sorry. Oh no, it's not you don't have to say sorry. It's a good question. I'm open to any questions. I have 2 black cats. They rock. Most affectionate cats ever. They get a bad rap. Not fair to them. It is strange. I mean, any black cat that I've ever interacted with is like the nicest. Well, that's not true. I don't know. It's hard to say. You ever the channel Morgan's parodies of famous songs, classic horror, Leatherface? I don't think I've heard that one before. And David with the 1. Thank you, David. All right, friends, let's kick this off. We're going to be cruising. We're going to be bruising. Brooklyn Gonzalez, welcome back for 17 months. Thank you so much. Is the black-eyed kid still a thing? It's like some sort of paranormal interaction, but I haven't heard many in a while. Why doesn't Joel say hi to me anymore? Hello, Ashley. I didn't even see you there. Alright, here we go. Back when we were teenagers, me and a few mates of mine used to go hang around in the woods near this loch about an hour's walk from the small town we grew up in. We'd only really head out there to get some privacy from our parents, somewhere that we could drink and smoke and look at page 3 models. But then, as we got older, we found ourselves returning to our old haunt to unplug with a few days of nostalgic camping. We'd just rock up, switch off our phones, crack open a few tins, and just detox from all the filth and grime of big city living. I think my voice cracked. Voice schmacked. Sarah, welcome to the Butter Sock Cult. You now have access to bonus content. I love your podcast. Listen to your stuff on the Chilling too. Thank you, Josh. Yeah. Chilling is moving and grooving. It's growing. I was amazed. I was amazed at, like, for that, I think they set out on Chilling or something with like a $25,000 goal for their crowdfunding project for Chilling 2.0, and I swear they are over 100,000 right now. So I was really, really impressed to just see the support on that and the fact that it's going in that direction. So that's really, really exciting for it. What are the stories about tonight? It's just generalized Reddit stories, and I think we got about 10 vigilante horror stories. Yeah, you guys got to go be vigilantes for me. No, I'm just kidding. We just rock up, switch off our phones, crack open a few tins, and just detox from all the filth and grime of big city living. At some point during our few days camping, we'd head into this wee village close by, pick up a wee bit of square sausage and some bread rolls, go to the pub for a bit, then wander back in the early evening before we were too drunk to walk. But on this particular occasion, we ended up trying to take a bit of a shortcut through the woods instead of just sticking to the road. So as we're walking through the woods, belting out 90s bangers, I spot something colorful through the trees, something that looked a lot like tent fabric. I hushed the lads up and started making my way towards it with the intention of apologizing for the racket. I could smell a campfire burning, so I assumed someone was still there, and I started calling out, "Hello there. Sorry about the racket. I hope we didn't disturb you too much." I waited for a second, but no reply came back. After a quick nosy, I noticed some used cooking utensils laid out on a bit of a tarp next to the campfire. Someone had obviously been there fairly recently, and had probably recently finished eating and had probably just wandered off for a slash. We waited for him to come back, just to be friendly and say hi, but a good few minutes went by and no one showed up at all. It wasn't long before we got tired of waiting around, and as we're leaving the campsite, headed down this trail we didn't even know was there that ended up coming out on the loch, we started noticing things among the trees lining the trail. We saw a box of matches, an odd slider, a fishing hat, and then one of my old pals says something snobby about them having a messy campsite. But then, a thought occurred to me. It looked almost like someone had dropped or lost all those things while being chased away from their camp by something. When I suggested it, my pals thought that I had gone mental for a second, and then they started to see it too, and the closer we got to the water, the more clothing we'd spotted. It all looked like clothes from one person as well. One t-shirt, one pair of hiking shorts, and then out of nowhere, one of my pals starts laughing his head off. We all ask him what he's laughing at, and he points off to the lock and keeps saying, "Look, look." I turned to face where he was pointing, and maybe 200 or 300 meters away, right at the edge of the lock, were some long reeds growing. Whoops. Whoops. Hey, Annie Spencer, welcome back for 21 months in the Buttersock Cult. Says, love listening to you and grateful for the Buttersock Cult. I'm grateful for you, Annie. Thank you so much. Appreciate you. And welcome again, Sarah. Thank you, guys. I'm a sexy narrator. Thank you. Chat, if Joel was a serial killer anime, which character do you think he'd voice over? Yeah. Tell me. Let me know which guy you'd think I'd be. How evil would I be at it? Of killing. I like Iron Maiden. I've definitely listened to some Iron Maiden jams. I turned to face where he was pointing, and maybe 200 to 300 meters away, right at the edge of the lock where some long reeds were growing, we saw something pale splashing in the water before disappearing into the reeds. They took off all their clothes and went for a wee swim, my mate laughed. Now they've heard us and they're hiding somewhere in the nude, just terrified of being spotted or something. I burst out laughing too. By the looks of things, he was dead right. We ended up shouting, "Sorry, mate," a few times and just making sure whoever it was could hear us, then we wandered back to our own camp, still laughing as we went. After that, we made ourselves a wee bit of tea, had a few drinks, and then went off to sleep. That night, I got only about an hour or two of decent sleep at the most. Sleeping in a tent isn't the most comfortable thing in the world, but it wasn't that. The problem was that whenever I drifted off, I kept having these really vivid dreams about my granddad. He died of cancer back when I was 9, and the battle had been a rough one. My last memory of him was going to see him in hospice when he was on his last legs, and I just knew that it'd be the last time that I saw him alive. He looked awful. He'd lost a ton of weight, could hardly move, hardly talk, and it was just heartbreaking to see him like that. The next thing, my mom starts telling him, "Look, Francis is here. Say hi to Francis." And then starts asking him all these questions about how he is and how the nurses are treating him. He doesn't answer any of the questions, not really. All he did was sort of groan in response. But then when she asks him, "Are you sleeping okay?" he shakes his head and just groans, "It hurts." And that was all I could think about after I'd gotten home from the visit, how he just said, "It hurts." And that got me wondering if it really was painful to die. Dark thoughts for a 9-year-old, I'm sure you'll agree, but that memory has continued with me into later life. I don't think about it often, and if I do, it doesn't particularly upset me anymore. But that night, in my dreams, I felt just as frightened in the face of the mortality as I had as a 9-year-old looking at my granddad. So, now you know how shaken up I was when I woke up that night, in the pitch darkness of my tent, with a little bit of that childhood dread still lingering in my chest. Now the next morning, all my mates looked like they were hanging out of their butts, and after breakfast, we were all still really narked. I asked if any of them had some of the hair of the dog, do ya? You got any hair of the dog? Oh, where are you going, lad? Bring them cheeks here. Joel's voice is lulling me to sleep. Good night, y'all. Thanks for the warm welcome. Thank you, Sarah. Nighty-night. Where are my pants in the wood? I asked if any of them had some of the hair of the old dog, and that's when I find out that none of them are actually hungover. What's got them in a bad mood was the complete lack of sleep. The conversation then touches on why none of us slept well, and one by one, we all mentioned how we had bad dreams and how they kept us up. We all just stood there looking at each other until wee Davy broke out into nervous laughter while saying things like, "Is this a joke? Are y'all trying to play a prank on me? Is that it?" One by one, we all confirmed it was no prank, and that it wasn't just him that was a bit freaked out. We were all a bit freaked out by that point. I say freaked out, we weren't terrified. Only wee Davy was into all that supernatural stuff, so he was definitely feeling it more than us. But then after a few jokes about up being stuck in the Twilight Zone episode, we just cracked on. Now later that afternoon, we're chilling down by the lock, and I start looking across the water to where the Skinny Dipper's campsite must have been. I asked one of the lads if they'd reckoned that we'd spotted him going for a dip since the weather was behaving. If we'd spot, I say. Live streams are fun. If Joel ever narrated a story as King Leonidas from 300, I'd be fucking complete. King Leonidas and the 300 Spartans. Ow! Achoo! 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 That'd be kind of funny. Have like a sneeze. Achoo! Achoo! I asked one of the lads if they'd reckoned we might spot him going for a dip since the weather was behaving. We just kind of laughed at first, but I couldn't move on from it. I kept wondering if he was actually alright and if there was anything to my initial gut feeling that something was wrong. After a few minutes of thinking it over, I just couldn't sit still anymore. I asked if anyone wanted to come with me to check on the campsite that we'd seen the day before. None of my pals could be bothered, but I felt like I couldn't relax properly until I'd walked over and had a look. So, off I go through the woods, tracing my way around the lake to have a look for the other camp. But when I found it, I noticed that not a single thing had been moved since the day before. The tent and all the stuff around it were in the exact same position, and all the stuff leading up the trail to the lock was still there too. Definitely not a good sign. I had a little mooch around the campsite, poked my head into the tent too, and that's when I saw a mobile phone just lying on a sleeping bag. Seeing that phone, something people don't go anywhere without these days, was when I came to the conclusion that something really bad had happened to the campsite. It wasn't just some innocent case of a skinny dipper. Someone had fled the area. Someone had fled the area in a hurry. Ayo? Someone had fled the area in a hurry, and yeah, they might have run towards the lock, but it wasn't for a dip. When I walked back around the lock, I kept my eye on the surface waters and shorelines, looking for any signs of a floating or drowned body. I didn't see anything, but the whole walk back I felt really panicky, and the first thing I did was call the police, to the bemusement of my pals. They thought that I was just overreacting, but the way I saw it, it was better to be safe than sorry. If someone needed help and later died or something and we'd all seen the signs and done nothing about it, I was gonna feel like an absolute idiot. The police thanked me for the tip, told me they'd check it out when they had a chance, then we hung up. After that, I actually started to relax a bit. It was no longer my problem, and I had been a good citizen, done my part, and that was that. That night I slept like a baby, and everyone else did too, and our last day of camping was actually quite a good one. Only notable thing was when we were doing some fishing on the lock, and we spotted 2 police officers walking around the trail that had the clothes lying around it. They got us talking, but it wasn't like I was fixated on it. They were doing their job, and I could just relax. Once again, we go back to camp and sleep like babies. And then the next morning, we get up, pack our gear away, and start hiking off back into town where we'd parked our cars. It was me that suggested that we walk by the abandoned campsite on the way back just to check if there were any updates, but I honestly wish I hadn't now. Because when we got there, saw a police officer standing guard over the site, and asked them what the score was. The response wasn't good. The policeman told us that we couldn't come any closer to the campsite as a gentleman had lost his life down by the loch, and his belongings were being considered evidence. We just spilled our guts and told him everything we knew, including the part about how we'd seen him skinny dipping the day after we arrived. The bobby thanked us, but made it clear that he knew next to nothing about the investigation and that they were still waiting for forensics to arrive to start putting together clues. It was only after that... Oh, shite. Fucking shite. The bobby knew nothing. Joel, your Gerard Butler Leonidas impression made me complete. I will sleep to your voice now. But before I go, can you do a Quagmire from Family Guy impression and say safe sex before I sleep? Giggity. Giggity goo. Safe sex. I don't know. I don't know how to do Quagmire. Whoa. Whoa. Giggity goo. Hey, Peter. Hey, Peter. No. Giggity. Hey, Peter. I don't fucking know. Jeremy Irons from The Man in the Iron Mask. I never heard of that. It was only after we were on the move again that someone raised the possibility that we'd watched the fella drown, and that's how he'd lost his life. It was a horrifying prospect, the idea that we all just laughed and shouted, "Sorry, mate," as he'd been drowning. But to us, it was impossible. We'd seen the bloke splashing around the reeds near the edge of the loch, which was hardly deep enough to drown in. That meant that he'd been hurt another way, possibly even murdered. Maybe we hadn't spotted the dead man, but rather the person that had killed him, and we'd been this close to stopping it, or getting hurt ourselves. As you can tell, there were a lot of questions, and we didn't actually find out what had happened for another week or so. But when we found out, we were devastated. Someone dropped a link in the group text that we'd shared to plan the camping trips. The guy had drowned in maybe 2 feet of water, and we'd actually watched it happen. But then, he must have been injured in some way that he couldn't stand up, and we didn't hear any cries for help or anything. So, was he being held down, or did someone actually drown the guy after attacking him? We had a lot of questions like that, and one by one we agreed to contact the police in East Lothian. How long did the lives go? Usually about 3 hours or so. Let me look up how to say Lothian. Lothian. East Lothian. East Lothian. Secretly chills. That's why he won't reveal his face. What's up, Scarce? We had a lot of questions like that, and one by one, we agreed to contact the police in East Lothian to make statements on what we'd seen. We didn't hear anything back from them, and despite scouring the internet, we didn't read about anyone being arrested, and nor was the man's drowning ever really explained. Now, years later, Davey brought up the fact that we all had terrible, sleep-stirring nightmares on the same night the guy died. I don't believe the two things were connected, and I really don't buy into any of the spiritualist guff, but that doesn't mean I'm not terrified and haunted by what had happened that day. A man lost his life while we were laughing, and even worse, he might have been murdered while we were laughing. I know I can't blame myself, and it wasn't any of our faults that he lost his life, but I just dread to think that some of the final seconds of his life would have been soundtracked by the sound of someone's giggles. Bit of a giggle. Who can do the best Chills impression? There's a gentleman on the website TikTok. Goes by the name Jensen, Gensen, and he is the god of Chills impressions. Let's swim. Because I'm nervous when I have to speak publicly, but I think I'm good at reading to my kids. Wait, did you ask something before? Are you a good public speaker, or do you get nervous? I definitely think if I had to do like official public speaking in front of a group of people, I probably would be very nervous. Because like this, you know, it's sure there's like 400 people here right now. But you know what I mean? It's like, it's not like I have to stare at all of you in a room and try to be somewhat entertaining. It's more of just like, I'm just kind of doing my thing. I don't watch TikTok. Yeah, I mean, I don't really watch TikTok, but I mean, Jensen's a friend of mine, and he's been on the channel a few times, and I know that he's made a few dollars and gotten quite a bit of followers by doing Chill's impressions. Hi, kitty. Oh, I didn't realize he was behind me this whole time. He's very sneaky. Number 15, Burger King fart fetish. You've been the star of many plays 20 years ago in high school. Yeah, mad respect to that, because that takes a lot of guts and a lot of practice, you know what I mean? Like, you can't just be like, oh, fucked it up, let's do another take. It's like, you gotta get it down in front of a live studio audience. Jensen's my boyfriend. He wishes. But I wish too. Dress him up for Halloween. He doesn't like anything on him. You put literally anything and he just like flops over like a fish and just lays there and rips it off. Even like, he used to have like a little collar. You could hear him with the bell going around. And he would just rip that shit off. He hated it. Yeah, I try to mess with the ones doing public speaking by staring and licking your lips, staring right into their eyes, into their soul. If you have to read something, your hand starts shaking holding the paper. I mean, it's understandable. I guess it's just like sort of a deep-seated, I don't know, worry about what they're thinking, but also I guess it's, if you think about it, worrying about what other people think about you is really just you judging yourself, because you can't read their thoughts, nor do any of their thoughts actually objectively matter, external from like an audition or like trying to get a job or something like that, or trying to impress a significant other on a first date, but eventually that doesn't fucking matter. So really the shaking that you might be experiencing is just your own internal judgment toward yourself. And I think if you can just sort of let go of your own self-judgments, you can eventually let go of your perceived false expectations of other people's judgments of you. Because in reality, if you've ever watched a public speaker, like, sure, it might be nerve-wracking for them, but you in the audience, you probably don't even give a shit. You're like, even if he makes like a silly mistake that seems just ridiculous, or even farts. In fact, I would welcome a fart. I hope someone up on stage giving a speech just puts the mic right up to their asshole and just rips something disgusting. Now, some people might be, you know, grossed out by that. Me, that would make my day. That would be like, this guy's a god, or this lady is a goddess, and I'm highly impressed and slightly turned on. I hope that they come back again. This all happened about 5 years ago when I, a male, first moved to the capital city of my country. It's also the biggest city. I was living in a flat with two of my friends. They're both female, Tina and Laura. They shared a room while I had my own small room. My bed was directly under the only window in the room. The apartment was on the ground floor, so if you walked past the building, you were on eye level with the windows. This, however, was never a problem, as there were no paths leading past the building on that side. It was just around 20 meters of grass and some trees, and then the road. At this point, it is also worth saying that I am a sword enthusiast and own several swords, and this will be relevant for later. All the swords are battle-ready quality for those who want to know, and as I like using them in cutting practice, and therefore wall hangers are not an option. Now to the point of the story, my roommates and I are hanging out in their room one afternoon. As we're talking, Laura mentioned that she thought that she had heard some knocking on the window the night before, and also thought that she had saw someone on the other side of the window. Tina and I didn't really take that too seriously, as Laura often had wild dreams and could be a bit of a scaredy cat sometimes. Now it is worth noting that all of us enjoyed playing pranks on one another. So, in the evening of the same day, as we were returning from the shops, Tina and I decided to knock on Laura's window as a prank. Of course, we scared her a lot, so we apologized, she laughed, said we got her good, and we all went to bed. At around 3 o'clock in the morning, I woke up and heard knocking. I was convinced that Laura is trying to exact her revenge, so I just looked through the window and, to my surprise, I saw a strange man on the other side. At first, I completely froze and just stared at him. He looked like he was in his 40s or 50s and had blondish gray hair. I didn't see him too well in the dark. And the staring contest. The staring cast. Sup, Joel? It's been a while since I parked for a live stream. Welcome back, red-headed stepchild. Next guy to fart in the mic gets pink eye, yeah. You gotta fart directly into like a microscope. That's how scientists pull pranks on each other. They fart bare ass directly onto a microscope on like the lens. So you go to put your eyes on it and just get poo particles directly in your eyeball. Anyone seen The Ring? The Ring is like too scary. As far as scary movies go, The Ring is like, it should be banned from my eyes at least. The staring contest must have lasted about 3 seconds, but it felt like an hour. Then all of a sudden, he broke eye contact and reached down and pulled up his pants. I didn't realize it before, but he had his pants down the whole time. At that moment, I also thought that I saw a knife in his hand. That unfroze me, and my first thought was that I had to defend myself. In retrospect, I find this silly, as there was still a window between us, and he presumably only had a knife. Now, I am quite large. I'm about 190 centimeters and 100 kilograms, but I had every confidence I can take this guy, but since I thought that I saw a knife, I grabbed one of my swords, a hand and a half, a bastard sword. My swords. Dude, this guy's about to go to fucking battle. Dude, I think everyone should just have swords fucking ready to rock and roll. Ready to kill. You fell asleep watching The Ring? It's been years, but hey, Mr. Shicky. Shicky that ass. Love The Ring, good snuggle movie. Snugs. You've seen The Ring, now check out The Square. The closet scene in The Ring with the dead body still makes me squirm. I guess it's been a long time since I've seen it. I eat Saddam and Mitch. What if there was a food that you eat that made you sad? Do you think there's any foods like that? The smile looks interesting. Hi. Wonder whatever happened to the, can somebody look up the director of The Ring and see if he made any other good shit? Any other good poop? Now he writes creepypastas on the intranet. Did the intruder have a hand and a half on his sword? No, it looks like this guy had a hand and a half bastard sword, the main character. He grabbed one to defend himself. If you eat like shit, it makes you sad. Yeah, but it only makes you sad later. But it makes you happy in the moment. It's called liver. It's a sad food. Brings on depression? Really? Wonder why. Do you think the Liver King is very sad? Also, I wish the Liver King wouldn't lie about the fact that he's on steroids. I mean, I don't really give a shit at the end of the day, because, I mean, hey, you do you, homie, Jomi. But, like, him sitting there pretending like all he eats is, like, liver and drinking, like, marrow tea and shit, it's just like, whatever, dude. That's pretty clear that you're fucking, like, nobody is, like, that vascular and that cut with, like, literally no body fat without some fluctuation, something being injected into his ass. Gore Verbinski is the director. He made a lot of Pirates of the Caribbean movies. Oh, It is crazy to see, like, the just, I don't know, the eclectic variety of people's abilities. They're now saying if you eat all organic, it actually increases the chances. Just saying that's what the study says. Well, I would have to know a little bit more. I mean, you know what I mean? Because studies can indicate any sort of mild correlation. I feel like you want to look, like, a lot of people, like, reference, like, one study and then they write an article about it on fucking BuzzFeed or some stupid shit. I think the thing you really want to look at are what's called, like, meta studies, where they take, like, hundreds of studies on the topic and, like, compare the data over a larger correlation. And because I'm confused what exactly about eating organic would be, like, is it the GMOs that make you happier? Like, what are we implying here? Sequitur Tenebrae with the tense is the ring, the square, scoffs. Y'all should experience the octagon. It comes at you from many angles. Nice. That's a top tier dad joke. As soon as your kids are about to watch The Ring, be sure to knock on the door and say that before. BuzzFeed still around? I don't know. I always just reference them as like a meme. But thank you again, Sequitur, for the 10. Would you rather visit Silent Hill or Raccoon City? I guess like Raccoon City, but like before the zombie apocalypse. Is that an option? Silent Hill to me is kind of tough because it's like interdimensional. You know what I mean? It's like a fucking, it's basically hell, I assume, right? So like if you find yourself in Silent Hill, there's like essentially no hope that you're getting out, presumably. GMOs make you grow up faster. Yeah, what's the deal with that? If depressing runs in your family, this was a Harvard study with the yeah, it's hard. That's the thing with like depression. It's such a complex topic that it's like I never really understood it. You know what I mean? Like in a really comprehensive concept, I feel like it's very specific to each person, even if there is some sort of the correlation between familial history. The question, I guess, would be like, how do you objectively define it? You know what I mean? Because it's not like diabetes where you can use like insulin levels or insulin resistance to sort of like create, you know, you can't measure the metachlorians. You know, maybe that's the issue. That's what they need to do to measure depression. They have to check your metachlorian level. Everybody's sad because they know that they're Jedis, but they can't use their powers. Otherwise, they'll hurt somebody. Do you like the movie Hocus Pocus? I do. Hocus Pocus. It's been years. You should host a radio show? Yeah, what would the radio show be about? Yeah, the Silent Hill movie, the first one that they made, I actually really like that movie. When the siren goes off, when the siren goes off, that's just like, to me, it was like such a, I don't know, such a powerful scene. Like it was just so fucking intense. Kind of like whenever like The Hills Have Eyes, when that siren goes off. Maybe I just like sirens. Maybe it just elicits some deep sort of like blitzkrieg sensation, and that's why I'm into them. But like, I don't know, it's just very, very fucking intense, like 0 to 100 real quick. Now, I'm quite large, 190 centimeters and 100 kilograms, so I have every confidence that I can take this guy. But since I thought that I saw a knife, I grabbed one of my swords and went to open the window, and all that took me about a couple of seconds. The creepy man was gone, but I was in a bit of an adrenaline rush, so I opened the window and jumped out. I started looking left and right, trying to see where he went. After about a minute, there was no sign of him, and my adrenaline wore off. I stood there still as a stone for a couple of seconds with my sword still in hand. All of a sudden, I hear a scream. It came from the road that was approximately 20 meters from the building. It took me a couple of seconds to realize what had happened, but I finally realized that a woman, probably in her 20s, saw me standing there from the road. If the sword in my hand wasn't scary enough, I must have also... Holy shit, this is actually a pretty funny story. Joel got it right. We scientists totally do that. Yeah, you gotta check the metachlorians. Oh, for the pranks. Farting on microscopes. If the sword in my hand wasn't scary enough, I must also add that I sleep naked and didn't have time to put on any clothes before jumping out. I tried to scream sorry, and I can explain, but the woman ran away. I crawled back in and put on some clothes. I went to wake up my roommates, but they were already awake. Apparently they also heard knocking on their window, but decided to ignore it since they thought it was me. They completely woke up when they heard the scream and looked through the window to check. They just saw me trying to climb through the window. We stayed awake since we were all too shocked to sleep, and we were just talking. We stayed awake since we were all too shocked to sleep. We were talking about calling the police when we saw the police actually drive up the road. They got out of the car and started walking up and down the grass in front of my window. As they approached the window, I opened it. They said that they got a report about a naked man climbing through this window. Luckily, no mention of the sword. I told them that it was me and the entire story. They only half believed me since I'm pretty sure it would not end well for me if my roommates didn't back me up, and we later filed our own report. We never saw this man again and never really heard anything back from the police. OP has a sword? Ugh, why can't it be me? You could go get a sword, probably, right? I feel like you go to like any of those like weird random like antique stores in the middle of like literal Silent Hill movies, or not movies but towns, like those towns that probably have a Silent Hill nighttime, and you could probably find swords just chilling around. You might have to like sharpen it yourself though. I was deep in the singing, and all of a sudden the scene when she was coming out of the well starts playing, and I almost... Oh, deep into the ring, yeah. How come no basement in Tornado Valley? That sounds almost illegal. What? Oh, does someone not have a basement? Or maybe it's... Maybe depending on where they're at. The stone, you know, like the ground is probably comprised of a certain stone that they can't dig into or something. I know down in Florida they don't really have basements because of the water level, but it might just depend. Maybe like limestone or something that might start to erode and cause the home to collapse in on itself. You got a machete, does that count? Machete definitely counts as a sword. but I prefer Excalibur. You have 3 swords, Madness. What kind of swords you got? Sword in the stone. Sword in the poop. You don't have a tornado and you live in Tornado Valley. Army surpluses, but not many full tangs at them. Rock is too expensive to explode. Oh, that's fair, yeah. And I guess if you can't dig into it with like a typical piece of machinery, it just might not be worth the building company's time. Oh, you got a samurai sword. That's dope. I am the tornado. I'm making waffles. I have a big knife and other equipment, but no sword yet. Well, there you go. Always good to be prepared. A while ago, I was living in an apartment complex in Toms River, New Jersey. I lived in a complex where there were doors facing the street, and when you went through the doors, there was a set of stairs going up to the top apartment, and to the side of the stairs was a small hall leading to the bottom apartment. I live on the top apartment, and my downstairs neighbor was a woman, probably 10 to 12 years older than me. We had a very neighborly relationship, saying hi when passing, chatting for a bit when we bumped into each other, etc., etc. After I had been living there for 3 months, I could tell that she kind of had a crush on me because it seemed that she would go out of her way to be outside of her apartment when I was, and she would get really flirty with me. It got to a point where I knew if I left my apartment that I'd bump into her, and I'd have to do mental preparation for these encounters and come up with a plan to be able to move on quickly because she would want to talk for long periods of time. Anyway, I was dating someone at the time, and I made sure to mention this to my neighbors since I thought that it would make her back off, but it didn't. Me and my then girlfriend had only started dating shortly after I moved into this complex. So 3 months into our relationship, we decided to finally take our relationship to the next level and begin to get intimate for the first time. So we made plans for her to come over, and she would plan to spend the night. I'm really treasy. I'm very treasy. I'm very treasonous to my girlfriends. Do I legit love when you mess a word up or sentence up? It makes you so human and it's sexy. Thank you for not being a robot. Love you all. Thank you, Amy. I do try my best to be as human as humanly possible. And in Mexico, there was a 7 magnitude earthquake. When did that happen? And what happened? Hello from Pittsburgh, PA. Hello. Pittsburgh. The black and yellow, black and yellow, black and yellow. I am really cheesy and try to do romantic things, so she was coming over at 10 p.m. that night, and I was vacuuming and cleaning at like 8 p.m. All of a sudden, there's a knock at my door. I see through the peephole that it's my neighbor, and I thought maybe she was going to tell me that I was being too loud with my cleaning, but I am pretty considerate, and I didn't think that I was being too loud, so I opened the door, and she has a smile and just starts making small talk with me. Things like, so I hear you're cleaning up here. You expecting company tonight? Is it your girlfriend? Are you guys gonna do it? Like, it felt like she was interrogating me and asking me things that she didn't need to know. I told her that I was having company over and that we would keep it down and that she didn't need to know who was coming over. She responded by saying that she felt that she should know who was coming over because the noise would impact her. I don't remember how I got her to leave, but I finally did. My girlfriend came over and we obviously were intimate. And like I said, I'm a considerate neighbor. I kept things down, but there are some things you can't exactly prevent, like the sound of the bed moving as you're doing the deed, so to speak. Anyway, the next morning, my girlfriend had work, so she got ready and I walked her down to her car. I had the day off, so I was going to get some gaming in and reflect on the incredible evening that I had had. When I got back to my apartment, there was my neighbor waiting at my door. She told me that she had heard everything last night and that it had sounded incredible. She didn't hold back telling me what she was doing to herself while she was listening to me and my girlfriend. She would go as far to say things like, "At about 11, I heard this noise. I can only imagine what she was doing to you, or you were doing this thing to her that I heard." And I was so creeped out. I told her that she needed to stop, or else I would have to tell management that she was invading my privacy. Needless to say, my girlfriend and I never did it at my place again unless I knew my neighbor was out of town. I told my girlfriend about it and she was furious, understandably. She even confronted my neighbor and told her it was not okay that she did that and was talking to me so much. Since we never did it at my apartment again during that year that I lived there, I just had to put up with running into my neighbor and her insisting to have long conversations. I was very happy when I finally moved to another town. Sequitur Tenebrae with the 10 says, basements aren't necessary or the safest during a tornado. There's a misconception. The above floor and you can be sucked up. Plus, they're a maintenance nightmare. Oh, the basement. Yeah. Yeah, so what is the best sort of method to deal with like a tornado situation? And thank you for the 10. Appreciate you. Thank you very much. A crawl space. Okay, I do remember that, like, being slightly nervous that there was going to be or tornado in my area, even though I don't, I live in Pennsylvania, so it's pretty rare. But I just remember, like, me and my mom, we were prepped and ready to go into the crawl space if need be. You're from Denver, Colorado, and it's strange to not have a basement. I mean, everyone, at least in Pennsylvania that I've seen, always has a basement, even though, yes, there can be a maintenance nightmare in regards to, like, people dealing with mold or water getting in there or something. Yeah, you gotta scream, "You shall not pass." And then you slam your wizard stick into the ground and it just dissipates the tornado into nothing. Hi from New England. Basements are great. Yeah, they are. Especially the haunted ones. Basement has been a great spot for over 200 years. If you don't have a storm shelter, then go to a basement. Okay. If you don't have a basement or crawl space, you stay in the center of the house away from the exterior walls. Any table you can get under. I remember seeing people, like, they would go to the bathtub and they would put a mattress over top of themselves. And I guess the concept is, like, it's just sort of a cocoon that protects you from everything. What's my thoughts on Siren Head? I don't know. It was pretty cool for the 2 weeks that it was popular, I guess. Siren Head, bled. Basements are rare in Las Vegas. Yeah, just wish the tornado away. PA doesn't have basements. We have dirt floors in our ancient mining houses. Also love from with Wilkes Bar. Yeah, no, that's true. I've definitely been in a lot of this is my grandparents' house. You know, you go in their basement and they have their coal stove that heats their house. Even though I think they gotten updates as time went on, but you go down there and it's just straight up dirt. Very, very creepy. And they'd have, like, most of their coal just, like, sitting off in some, like, area packed to the low ceiling, like mulch, you know what I mean? You definitely want to be down there too often, otherwise you'd eventually see fucking Gollum or some shit. Bathrooms are the strongest part of any house. Ground floor, put on a helmet and cover yourself with a mattress or couch cushions. Ground floor, put on a helmet, cover yourself with mattress and cushions. After that, it's luck. Yeah, fuck. I guess you just have to, hope you don't get crushed. Pennsylvania, the Dutch country, isn't it? Yeah, I mean, Amish. Smoking fat doinks and Amish. The Amish are definitely interesting people. They make some good whoopie pies. It's kind of weird though. Like the local government's been going after the Amish lately in regards to their farms, pertaining to different, like just pertaining to saying that they're like nitrite levels or some bullshit like that. I don't know. It's just kind of scary to think that, like, you would think out of all the issues that, like, because, you know, people always say, like, I want to go live on my own homestead and, you know, be off the grid and stuff. And it's like literally the Amish have been just like doing that, just being the most self-sufficient people ever. And I was like, I wonder if they're just going to be like looking at the rest of the world as the government slowly encroaches in and just laughing. But then I'm like, oh, of course they find a way to fucking go after the literally the nice, some of the nicer people in the area. You shoot an arrow at the tornado. You survived a tornado a few years ago, went into the basement and was okay. Yeah, what was it super loud, Hanny? Would I like to see a Siren Head movie made possibly in the future? I don't know. I mean, I don't really imagine it'd be too interesting. Like seeing Siren Head in that context of where didn't it start where it was like a blue sky and Siren Head is giant, like walking down, and you hear it like woo, 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 and like you know, just like that type of like out of context horror is pretty cool. But as far as a full blown movie, I just don't know what the concept. It would have to be really interesting. I don't know. Secretary Tenebrae, I hope I'm saying that right. Thank you so much for the 20 big ones. Says, wow, I started at a PSA. Well, if you don't have an at-home shelter, get one. They are a tax credit. In the meantime, check your local municipality for public shelters. Where I live, we do cookouts on the bad storm days there. Oh, okay, cool. Like almost like feeding people, but also prepping on the off chance. Having a nice cookout, then all of a sudden, tornado! Everyone bring the grill inside. Also bring the generator that shoots CO2 into our enclosed layer. Sounded similar to a plane taking off or a train rushing by. Yeah, what a weird concept, you know? Is a twister the same as a tornado? Yeah, I do believe twisters and tornadoes are just synonymous terms. My friend always laughs at that one line from the movie Twister when they're sitting around the dinner table or something, and he was like, survived a category 5. He's like, what was that like? And then the one guy's like, finger of God. Just like out of nowhere, finger of God. It's like the finger of God goes up your asshole, finds your prostate. It felt great. So about a month ago, in mid-August, my dad wanted to bring me, a 16-year-old female, and 2 friends, also 16-year-olds, to the beach for a short vacation. We couldn't afford a really expensive place, so we stayed at a really crappy motel. My dad had his own room downstairs, and my other friends and I went up the stairs to our room. He gave us an air horn and field hockey sticks, just in case. The first 2 days went really well, no problems at all. Until the final night, we were there. We had gotten home from the boardwalk at around 11 p.m. and we were just hanging out in the room. I decided to go outside of our room for a second. Since we were on the second floor, leaving the room was just immediately being on a balcony where you could see out into the road. Across the road there was a parking lot, and I saw a car, and about 4 younger guys standing near it. I then decided to go back in, and I told my friends that I saw some people outside, so one of my friends then went out onto the balcony and shouted, "Hey!" and waved at them. We all went back into the room now, and about 2 minutes later, we hear a knock. It's the guys from the parking lot. There was only about 3 of them there, though, as they said the 4th friend was on the phone with his girlfriend. All of them are 18. They were really nice, though, and I could tell they had no bad intent. After about 10-ish minutes or so of them being in our room, we hear another knock. We open it, and it's their 4th friend, but someone else was with him. All of us were confused, and after I started asking the 4 guys that I willingly invited in if they knew this man, they said no. The one friend who was outside brought him in because he had alcohol or something. We started asking questions and came to find out that this mystery man was 32. So now, in our room were not only 4 18-year-olds, but a 32-year-old man as well. At this point, I decided that they had to go, so I kindly told them that we needed to head to bed and that they all needed to head out. Finally, they were all gone, including the 32-year-old man. However, one of the younger guys was really... Whoops. Yeah, just waving to strange people. Hey! Who, me? List of human stampedes and crushes. It'll blow your mind. Yikes. However, one of the younger guys who was really interested in one of my friends, so he came back up and asked her to go in his car with him. We didn't want her to, not because he didn't seem trustworthy, but because we had already decided that it was time for them to go. She refused, however, and went to his car with him. So now one of the other guys was back in her room talking with me, and the other 2 were down in his car trying to get my friend to come back up. The 32-year-old man as well was still around, and he referred to my friend, the one in the car, as Pearly Whites because of her teeth. At one point, me and my friend were out in the balcony talking to 2 of the boys while the others were trying to get my friend, and we saw the 32... Hello, Pearly Whites. Pearly Shites. The last horror flick I saw that actually made me scream was As Above, So Below. Terrifying. Check it out. Interesting. I don't think I've seen that one. I think I remember it. Isn't there like a lot of red? Or no, it's like... Isn't it like found footage style stuff? There was an earthquake here a few weeks ago. I thought it was just my dad's ex-son slamming the doors, but then the whole bed shook and my service dog started to bark. Interesting. You need a gargle? I could use a little gargle. Gargoyle. Oh yeah, the Paris Underground. At one point, me and my friend were out on the balcony talking to 2 of the boys while the others were trying to get my friend, and we saw the 32-year-old man down by the curb, and he shouted, "Where's my Pearly Whites?" We all got freaked out at this point, and I urged the 2 other guys to please go get my friend. She finally came back, but the guy who originally invited the 32-year-old man in our room was now arguing with him because they, like us, were also getting freaked out by this man, saying things like, "They're way too young for you. You need to go." And he kept saying, "Nah, I'm not about that." We now closed our door, not wanting to be involved. We got one of the guy's Snapchats, and he kept updating us on how their friend was still arguing with the 32-year-old man, and how the man apparently pulled a knife on his friend. They finally told us that they got in the car and left, but when my friend told me that the guy had said that, I knew that meant that the 32-year-old was probably still around our place. So I go up to our door to make sure it's locked, and the second I do it, I hear a knock and a voice saying, "Hey, those guys stole something from you guys. I want to give it back." At this point, I know this older guy most certainly did not have good intent, because clearly none of those boys stole any of our things. So while my friends were sitting on their bed, I had talked to him, and I replied, That's okay. We don't need whatever it is. We're going to bed, okay? He kept saying that he wanted to give us whatever was stolen from us, and I kept refusing and saying that it was time for us to get some sleep. He finally gave up and walked away at this point. But now I picked up the field hockey stick and was sitting on my bed, shaking and honestly afraid. My friends kept saying it was fine and he wasn't going to come back. However, about 10 minutes later, he did come back. I heard the knock and got up very reluctantly, and I heard him say something along the lines of, "Sorry about tonight." So I just kept calm and said, "It's okay. I just really need you to go now. We need to go to bed." Finally, it was the end and he left, and this whole charade probably ended around 1:30 to 2 in the morning. Needless to say, my friends fell asleep shortly after, but I honestly couldn't. I kept thinking that he would come back, and I was afraid for my friend because of the creepy comment he made about her. I was wide awake probably until 4 a.m. until I was finally calm enough to fall asleep. Long story short, I'll never be letting anyone into any hotel room of mine ever again, even if they're my age. Even if they're twice my age. That's my limit. She's setting standards. Pepe is a good D&D character name. That'd be funny. Random D&D name, Grog. Grognar. That'd be kind of fun to play D&D with your chat, or have some type of like bot or whatever do D&D random shit. I don't know how it would work, but it'd be kind of neat. We could finally compete with Critical Role. What the squawk? The Wu-Tang name generator site? Let's see. Wu-Tang name generator. Wu-Tang name generator. Interesting. Oh, it's Woomy. Alright, so my... Wait, did it do it? I don't know if it did it. That's weird. English? I'm clicking it, but it doesn't give me a name. Maybe it's a block. Maybe I don't know. Oh well. Woo stink. Wu-Tang Buttersock clan ain't nothing to fuck with. Shanus, thank you for the 5 gifted memberships, my friend. Welcome Lila, Sampai, Epic Nessa, Hugo Gonzalez, Devoured Eagle. Welcome to the Buttersock Cult. You now have access to bonus content. Be sure to thank Shanus. And thank Christopolis earlier if you got one from them as well. Do you think there are Pokemon horror stories out there? Oh yeah, I remember starting out on creepypastas, and there were so many fucking, like, there was basically a whole category on like the creepypasta website called like Pokepasta. And I think I had narrated a few of them, to be honest. If you go back or search in there, I don't know if they still exist on the channel or not. I just did your name and it came up with, let's read from this day forward. You also be known as Sarcastic Artist. Oh, easy peasy. What do you have planned for Friday's video, and are you streaming on Saturday? I'm not sure if I'm going to stream on Saturday, but Friday's video, kind of up in the air right now, so I'll keep you posted. Be sure to follow my Twitter at Let's Read Creepy. My Hypno story is still up? Okay, cool, there you go. There's a pokey pasta for you. Mischievous logs. Childish Gambino got his name from the Wu-Tang site? That's amazing. It's weird, I haven't heard anything from Childish Gambino, or like, he hasn't been in any movies. He was like big for a little bit, like he had a new album, new song, was in movies, and then all of a sudden he just fell off the map out of nowhere. I wonder what's going on with that. Joel, keep up the good work. Alright, peace out, my friend. Have a good one. My grandfather, Jim, died when I was 17, so around 5 years ago, and his last months were rough on the whole family. He had advanced brain cancer, and he spent most of his time at home under hospice care. One afternoon, it was about 2 weeks before Jim died, I was alone with my grandpa waiting for the hospice nurse to come check in on him. A man who I'd never seen before, Dave, knocked on the door. He was wearing hospital scrubs, but he hadn't brought any equipment with him, which was odd. I asked him if he worked for the hospital, and he nodded. He said that this was his first shift with Jim, but that he'd reviewed my grandfather's file and that he wanted to speak to whichever family member had the legal authority to pull the plug, as he put it. Jim wasn't even on life support, so I guess Dave was using plug as an expression on my grandfather. I should say that I live in a right-to-die state where euthanasia is legal, so it's not like that option had never occurred to us, but as far as I know, no member of my family had ever expressed any openness to euthanizing Jim. I told him that I had no authority to make that decision, and that my grandfather, who was now delirious and unable to consent to much of anything, had specifically said to prolong his life indefinitely unless he was crying out in extreme pain, which he wasn't. Dave put his hand on my shoulder as though he was consoling me, and he talked about how old people become burdens that their families need to let go of. Then Dave pulled out a bottle of pills out of his pocket and said that they were barbiturates that would trigger a peaceful death. He said the coroner would determine that Jim died naturally from his cancer. I started to panic, and I firmly told him that under no circumstances would we be euthanizing my grandfather at this time. But he started to untwist the bottle as he'd walked towards Jim's bed. I tried to wrestle the pills from his hand, and he seemed startled. He played innocent and said that he just wanted to show the pills to Jim. Dave knew perfectly well that my grandfather had almost no idea what was going on. I called 911 and rapidly explained the situation to the dispatcher. Dave suddenly became very scared and bolted out of the house. The cops arrived within 5 minutes, and Jim's actual hospice nurse arrived a few minutes after that. Based on the physical description, the police and hospital staff were able to identify Dave as a recently fired hospital orderly. Dave was charged with making a criminal threat based on my testimony, but unfortunately he was acquitted. So Dave, wherever you are, please leave us alone. That's kind of insane, actually. Holy shit. What's up, guys? I'm the Angel of Death. Do I listen to other narrators like Southern Cannibal? I don't really listen to other narrators, but I definitely know who they are, and I've definitely listened to them once or twice just to kind of hear what they sound like and stuff. But yeah, Southern Cannibal is... I guess we don't talk like a lot, but I definitely, are in good graces with the cannibal. You hope to be this smooth someday. You will, Tommy. You will. You just keep practicing. Monka W. Are you bringing the Twitch memes? Wait, and you'll need Joel to watch the day. Childish Gambino. Donald Glover is the creator and executive producer of a show, Atlanta. Oh, that's right. I guess, okay, that makes sense if he's working on that show. I actually do recall that was something he was involved in, but I forgot that he was like an actual producer of it. But I get, he's the creator too. I guess that would make sense. We all know your chills as well. I'm everybody, everywhere, all at once. I have an 8 a.m. tomorrow, but I'm transfixed by this live and a box of Trix cereal. God damn. Are you only eating the Trix dry? Or are you putting it in schmilk? Or perhaps pilk? Some organic pilk, Pepsi milk. Do you have a Twitch? No, I don't, unfortunately. I watch Twitch, but I don't stream on there. I thought about doing it before, but I just kind of been too lazy, if that makes sense. Like, just starting up a whole thing. And I mean, what category would I be under? Like the just chatting category or something? I've been told a few times that I could do a talk show. This was the days before podcast. Yeah, James, always time to start a podcast, or, you know, I mean, essentially a radio show is a podcast these days, you know, and most people consume their radio content like in a streaming format, which, rather than like a live show format. But I'm sure like those radio networks probably still archive their stuff in that same fashion. Do your Alex Jones impression. We're breaking the conditioning. Ladies and gentlemen, pay close attention to what they're putting in your pilk. Because it's not just Pepsi milk. It's all sorts of hormones to make you open up your, well, actually close and calcify your pineal gland. Your third eye. The ancients used to talk about it. And now we figured it out. All you need to do is buy our snake oil. And if you drink enough snake oil, your pineal gland will fucking explode open. And you'll see the goddamn interdimensional vampire future. Because it's coming. So you better prepare. Ladies and gentlemen. I have nipples, Greg. Can you pilk me? Well, they think it's ending because he just signed a huge, massive deal with Amazon to produce for them. And I'm curious what's going. The pilk is turning the frogs gay. I was curious what the hell is going on with Amazon, because they dumped what, $750 million into that Lord of the Rings show, and apparently it's bombing. You know, from what I've heard, it's just like really, really like bad writing. And then I saw a scene on Twitter where someone was like, this is the absolute worst thing I've ever seen. And it was like, okay, so the main character, and I just want to clarify, I don't know anything about the show other than this thing, and just, I sound like Beetlejuice. Yeah, people always say I sound like Beetlejuice, which is funny. I guess that's kind of a good thing. Maybe I could do that at some point if they ever revamp that bullshit. But Lord of the Rings. So like, there was a scene where her name is like Gladriel or whatever the fuck, the main badass elf lady or whatever. Like, she's sitting there, you know, they're in like a prison, like sort of a very old school, you know, medieval style prison, and they're like, get back, prisoner, you know, to her as she stands in front of the prison gate or whatever, cage, I don't even know what we call it, and the prison door. And then there's another character. There's like 3 guards, right? 3 or 4 guards. And then there's another character off to the side who seems to be more important because he's not wearing the same shit as the guards. And then a prisoner next to him, kind of like, you know, talking his normal prisoner talk, who's sit there and observing things from the side. And then anyways, they open the door, and all of a sudden, even though she has cuffs on her, like they uncuff her, she immediately goes to grab for somebody. And then as she does that, this is the weird thing, and I'm always someone to pick up on like continuity errors in things. They had already closed the door behind her, right? So that would have added like an additional step. But like, she goes to grab them like she's about to fight like 3 or 4 guards at one fucking time. And then it cuts to that main side character on the side, who I think was, you know, coming to get her too or some shit. But he goes to pull his sword out, but he does it in like such a exaggerated, like, to me, like, just the acting, it already felt like you're at it. You know, like a lot of like theater kids and theater bullshit is very like over exaggerated, and everything is whimsical and wally, And like, you know, it's kind of cringy a little bit, you know what I mean? But but it's also sort of like bad acting, but at the same time, because everyone's doing it, it just feels normal to observe. But anyways, like, he goes to pull the sword out, like, huh? And then the prisoner, who's like, you know, kind of, I don't know, he's seen it all or some shit. He's like, I wouldn't do that if I were you. And he's like, huh? And then it like cuts back to her. They didn't even show any of the choreography of how she fought these like 4 guards. And all of a sudden she's fucking throwing, like pushing the last of the 4 or 3 guards into the cage and then closing it. Just that easy, gentlemen. That easy. And it was just like, what happened? Who the fuck, like, we're $750 million and this is the scene you fucking provide in choreography and like just like you do a side cutaway, like as if, I don't know, I almost feel like they fucked it up because it looks so corny, almost like the what was that newer Star Wars thing where they were little baby Leia was running away from the guards and it looked like a fucking, like, I don't even know, old cartoon, like just how fucking hammy it looked. And this was like their editing manner in which to like imply that the fight occurred, but like the continuity error of the fact that the door was already closed. I don't know. It just made no fucking sense. And I'm like, holy shit. Like, not only is this $750 million down the drain, but like, it's weird to think. It's weird to think that like, it doesn't matter how much money you give a studio. If everybody exists in their own little echo chamber forever, and nobody ever sits there and says like, hey guys, I read through the script and it fucking sucks. And no one likes this kind of shit anymore. And it's deviated from the source material wildly. Should we not maybe? And then they throw them out the fucking window because that's a variation of thought and we can't have that. I don't know. It's just like embarrassing. It's like, but anyways, going back to Childish Gambino thing, it's like if he signed up with Amazon, I'm almost wondering like $750 million. Does Amazon have that amount of money to just like piss into the fucking wind in regards to like just piss into the wind in regards to like shows and stuff like that? Because hypothetically, you're running a streaming service. Everyone's competing or trying to be the next fucking Netflix, right? But you're not like, it's not like movies or shows where you're running advertisements or everyone's paying for like HBO or some shit and everyone's tuning in at one specific time. The only way that you make profits is if new or more people come in to subscribe to your streaming service specifically to watch one show. And usually they might not do, they might do it on the hype alone, but then they'll do it based on word of mouth. But it seems as if though none of that is occurring. So in my mind, they're essentially like hundreds of $1 million in the red on a completely failed investment, to the point where almost like, do they even have the funds available to continue servicing Amazon, Prime Video? You know what I mean? To the extent that like maybe Childish Gambino's like whole fucking little deal that he made might be kind of screwed over, unless that's locked in or some shit. But it just seems, I don't know what the fuck is going on with movies and television anymore. Vanessa, welcome back for 2 months, and the Buttersock called. Thank you. Well, thank you, Vanessa. Thank you so much. And David De La Rosa with the 2 says, Joel and Arnold Schwarzenegger impression we need that. We need Arnold back right now. Netflix is subpar. Well, that's the thing too, is every time Netflix's prices go up, they lose subscribers. But like, they had such a jump start, and they obviously like they set the bar, you know what I mean? They set the standard for streaming, and they had The Office. I watched The Office on Netflix all the fucking time, you know what I mean? That was just like a comfort show to just get on and watch. Amazon bought the football rights to stream it too. Yeah, but I guess it just depends on which teams and all of the different package deals, because I mean, obviously it's probably not all of football, unless you're referring to like UK football or something else, or maybe cricket. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I really don't know, because like, if you think about it, everything in a story that you consume, it all begins with the writing. If the writing is shit right out the gate and has a chip on its shoulder that it wants to completely deviate from its core audience's like concept of what is canon or what is expected of the series, then that in itself can already probably statistically project like profit revenues tanking, you know what I mean? But you would imagine after seeing like show after show after show after show like failing completely, after movie, like after movie series, like failing completely based on like really simplistic writing philosophy issues and deviations from what is expected from the audience, you would imagine somebody would eventually grab someone by the fucking shirt collar up at the top who is doing the investments and be like, what the fuck are we doing wrong? You know what I mean? And just like have some sort of revelation in their mind, like, oh, people don't want to have their entire like series just like spit on, you know? I don't know. It's weird. Do you think Fortnite has died down when it first came? Yeah, Fortnite is, you know, definitely at some tapered level, but I don't fucking know. It definitely, you know, obviously it took things by storm. It created the streamer known as Ninja and made many other streamers very popular. Shitty scripts make billions though. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Which one do you mean? I mean, if you meant like the more recent Jurassic Park, like Jurassic World did well, but I think that was like pretty well. But everything that's been subsequent after that, and then including Star Wars, it just seems to have been tapering off into like nothingness. And the audience is starting to lose trust in the studios that create this stuff. You know, it'd be really cool, some kind of multiple account that subscribes you to multiple services for a fraction of the total amount. That way you can choose what you see. Yo, for real though, that's probably going to be something that, if it doesn't already exist, like I could see as these companies, like they'll start buying subscriptions in bulk for like way cheaper and then selling it to people, you know, or at least selling them in packages to people. And I could totally see that being something that as these subscription services start to like die because of their investment and like just not gaining new subscribers and stuff. I don't know. Yeah, it's just them milking it for there's legit no more milk. Yeah, you're trying to pull blood from a fucking stone, as they say, you know, and it's just, I don't know. Yeah, that's cable TV. Good point, Ferry. Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing is like, I think at the end of the day, there was some sort of concept of the manner in which cable TV and movies were monetized in the past, you know what I mean? Where you had to pay movies for the ticket, for the individual experience, to go there and see it. And it was like a direct sort of one-to-one response to how many, you know, the amount of people that watched. But now, with these new streaming services, if you don't bring in new people, it almost seems as if though a lot of these shows are just like sort of destined to sort of die because you would have to cut so much fat off to like figure out where your losses are that I just feel like it would be like a logistical nightmare compared to what it was before, as far as like, oh, well, we always know the advertisers are going to show up at this 8 o'clock slot at this amount. And, you know, I just feel like it's a completely different ball game now with these streaming services, you know, as far as making money and like constituting your show the ability to continue onward, you know what I mean? K8 with the 5 says, totally not trying to pilk Joel's voice or anything by super chat. No, K, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. I'll just keep blabbering on forever anyways. You really want to meet a fucking alien? I want to wake up with weird scars and scary dreams. I have so many questions for them. Yeah, I doubt an alien would ever want to talk though, you know what I mean? Because from what I've heard, and this is just like obviously nonsense, but from what I've heard, like as far as consistent reports, like the alien greys that usually abduct people and then like do experiments on them in some sort of weird, curious fashion, their personalities and communication abilities are similar, or at least their personalities are similar to that of insects, and that they do, I don't know, have some degree of like psychic communication, but it's never enough for you to like I guess, be filled in to what they're working on, and obviously it would be similar to like getting abducted by the government, which may or may not be there's some crossover there. And hold on, let me just that's my island dance. D Shore with the 32 buccarinos is happiest of the happiest. Thank you, D Shore. Thank you. Why does Joel have this forbidden knowledge? Well, I may or may not have been abducted a few times. Have you heard about the YouTuber, your narrator? No, I don't think so. Yeah, but I bet alien sex would be awesome. Yeah, I mean, they probably... Most of the alien greys, though, don't have the ability to reproduce. From what I've heard, that they tend not to have any sort of sexual organs because a lot of them are just either made as... They tend to operate in a sort of insect-like cyborg fashion where they're like made by a species above them. You know what I mean? And then they just use these alien greys almost as biological slaves in some way to go conduct whatever experiment through like surrogate or like, proxy. And, any sort of sexual experience you would have would be probably through probing, but not in any sort of satisfactory sense, I guess. I don't know. It doesn't really... I wouldn't long for that situation, because what people that have been, at least the stories of the ones that have been abducted, they tend to suppress those memories so much that like whenever they do the reverse hypnosis tactics to bring up what actually happened to them or whatever, it's like deep PTSD, like fuck you up kind of stuff. So I wouldn't wish that upon yourself, you know what I mean? I don't know. Last weekend, me and my friend decided that we would go out to the pub for a few drinks after a tough week at work. We got ready and left the house at 10 p.m. We decided to walk it. Sorry, I got the burps. Joel, did I just hear thee say he is one island boy? I'm an island boy. God, those island boy guys. I don't hear much about them anymore, but I remember they just look like fucking Simpsons characters. Except the tall ones at Norwegian looking aliens. No, they bang. Oh, fuck yeah, dude. What are they called? Those are called... It's like, it's sort of like a Nord... Maybe they're called the Nords, but it's like a Nordic goddess or god terminology. I forget what the fuck they're called. Let me look it up real quick. Nordic aliens. They're like... Pleiadians? I don't fucking remember. Island boy. All I know is that I'm an island boy. Gotta love hive mentality in Hollywood. But we just get a movie about the one bacteria vibing on Mars. Yeah, I know. I don't know. It's hard to say what the fuck reality is. Who knows? The thing about weird alien shit is that, like, the thing that I worry about is, like, everyone's becoming slowly conditioned so much to think that, like, aliens are just a consistency and that they care so much about us, that if ever there were to be, like, a type of technology that you could use to, like, scare everyone, what's it called, like Operation Bluebeam, where they like project the presentation of like motherships and stuff appearing over the earth, and then like using satellite weaponry or something, they can create like massive attacks in various areas, and then under that guise or that false attack, you could unite the entire world in sort of a one sort of centralized government thing in the name of, you know, fighting aliens or some shit. And honestly, in my mind, that's a great fucking idea. If I was like in a position to do that, I totally would. Jack with the two says, would you want to go to space? No, I wouldn't, because Anytime I've ever heard of people like going to space, they get very space sick. You know what I mean? Like the G-force and all that kind of stuff, and floating. You just feel like ill up there, and also it's I don't know, dude. It's fucking cold. There's no oxygen. Like you die and then freeze. Joel is into the alien mythos. I've heard all of it. All of it. I am up to date. Hey, Kashi P, what's up? Aliens are just Canadians, exactly. With their maple syrup dollars. Oh, Christopher Walken. You know, if I was to be abducted by an alien, I wouldn't want them to come anywhere near my butt. You stay away. It's gross. Yuck. Keep your distance. Alien Greys. You should watch the YouTuber Fire Gamer Owen. He has really good content. Is he a gamer? And does he use fire? You shouldn't play with fire. That should be his tagline. What's up, guys? It's Fire Gamer Owen. Don't play with fire, as I always say. What's up, Chris? Ever hear of Project Serpo? No, I never heard of that. What's that one about? Last weekend, me and my friend decided that we would go out to the pub for a few drinks after a tough week at work. We got ready and left the house at 10 p.m. We decided to walk as the pub was not too far, and we definitely weren't going to drink and drive. About 20 minutes later, we arrive, take a seat, and order drinks. Everything was completely normal until I noticed two men staring directly. Rugax with the 5 says, Joel, I'ma hope you not one island boy, but if you would be hella funny to hear you say one sentence with the island boy accent. Aren't they from Florida? Like, where the fuck did they get that accent? There's no way they have that accent. It's a fucking lie. They're a bunch of baloney farts. Fucking false messiahs. I don't know. I'm curious why everyone says they've been probed. I think everyone here at some point, there's like you know that statistic where they say like every year you inadvertently eat like 35 spiders. I think there's also a statistic that everyone here in my chat specifically has been abducted and probed at least once in their lifetime, if not soon. So I just want everybody, if you've been in my chat, just be ready for that. Be ready to be. Gonna do a Texas accent. What's Texas sound like? Giddy up. I don't remember. I don't know. God dang it, Bobby. I'm from Tejas. Aliens have enough technology to traverse the stars, but so much less developed medical equipment that they must probe us. They just absolutely are just fascinated with, what is this? Humans eat from their mouth, and then they shit it out? Interesting. Let's get a closer look. What if aliens are just pulling out everyone's rectal cancer? That would be nice of them. Can't find the probe button. Thank you, Kate, with the 5. Yeah, it's like your first day as an alien. You're like, alright, welcome on board. This is the mothership. So basically what we do is like, we just go around looking for like cows and like unsuspecting country folk, and most of the time, like with the cows, we just like mutilate them and just send, leave them there or whatever, collect whatever biomaterial we need. With people though, we stick stuff in their butt. So, it's just, there's a whole training course with like doing, you're going to become like an alien proctologist at this point. Don't even worry about it, bro. You'll be good. It's like a weekend course. Which one's scarier, aliens or robots? Jeez. Dude. 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 After 20 minutes later, we arrive, take a seat, and order drinks. Everything was completely normal until I noticed two men staring directly at me and my friend. They were dressed in jeans and Nike hoodies with tattoos on their hands and neck. I thought nothing of it at first and just figured the men were a little drunk, but time passed and it was continuing to happen. My friends also picked up on it and told me that she found it quite unsettling. It was a very busy night at the pub, however, and there were lots of people around. 1 hour had passed and there was no change. Me and my friend had only had 1 or 2 drinks and we were still very sober at this point. We started to get freaked out and thought it was probably best that we just leave. When we got up and headed to the door, the two men approached us and made a comment on the dresses me and my friend had on. I'm not going to say what was said as it was rude and inappropriate. And that's when we really started to panic. My friend called her dad as my parents were away on a holiday. He told us that he would come as quick as he could and told us to try and get away from the weirdos. It was pretty dark out, but we thought our best chance was to try and get home. We had been walking for about 3 minutes and I looked back to see that both men were following us. We both called the police and started to sprint as there was not a single soul around. We ran into our apartment and they started banging on the door. I'd never felt so scared. We ran into my bedroom and locked the door, absolutely terrified. Terrified? That's a new one. It's a mix between petrified and terrified. We were pilkified. We were Pepsi milkified. Too many drugs, you forgot there was a live stream on. This essentially is my life. Drunk Joel is interesting. Drunk Joel is just too goddamn emotional. I need to just cool it. Honestly, though, I'm pretty stoked. If I get drunk this year, well, no, I don't even know. I'll get smooth. I'll get pilked out of my mind for my next birthday. But we're gonna be playing a video game, I think. One of those like choose your own adventure style ones. The guys in the story sound like assholes. You're telling me that just because they chased somebody home and banged on their door makes them an asshole? Jeez, bro. This is too funny. Well, welcome, 50 Blessings. Good to see ya. They were paraffin. Emotions are underrated. I know. We should have less of them so we can really savor them. Are you going to be getting into Overwatch 2? Sadly, I am. Somebody sent me memes where it was like, since Overwatch 1 is going to shut down on like October 12th, or no, October 2nd, and then for October 3rd, the Overwatch will be online until October 4th or something, Overwatch 2, as they transition people from 1 to 2. And it was just like showing the world during that one day, and it was just like this like peaceful utopia in the future with like flying cars and shit. And I'm like, this is a very accurate meme. This is a perfectly accurate meme describing what society could be like without the plight of Overwatch. It's Modella time. Modelo. Actually, Joel, Alex covered the whole Diet Pepsi leak of having fetal tissue in their product. Really? Wait. To what extent, though? Because, like, I don't know. I feel like I need to know more about that. Because, like, just implying that, there's so many questions that go along with it. You know what I mean? And then hypothetically, they explain why there was any of that in there at all, or even trace amounts. And then you would have to say, like, is it just trace amounts? Are they literally just like grinding up babies in my Diet Dr. Pepper? Like, what's the deal? I had never felt so scared. We ran into my bedroom and locked the door, absolutely petrified. They continued shouting and threatening us to open the door, and luckily the police arrived and both men were arrested. My friend's dad came shortly afterwards, and because me and my friend were so shaken up, he took us to stay at his place for the night, so we weren't by ourselves, but we were still trembling after the experience, and I think that it was safe to say that neither of us had gotten much sleep that night or for the past week. Now, I am unaware that this was probably caused due to the influence. I am aware. Like Filthy Frank, I eat the whole ass. It's not nutritionally viable. Yeah, to only stick to the poop hole, you really need to get the meat as well. It's so funny, like, looking back on those days of, like, H3H3, iDubbbz, and Filthy Frank, and just thinking that those are some very different people than they were 7 years ago. And it's kind of weird. It was like there was like no transitionary phase. It was just like they woke up one day and were like, we're different. We've been cloned and changed. We no longer have a sense of humor. How did you know to end your stories with the birds? How did I know to? Well, I can say the influence was from the movie, what the hell's the movie? Evil Dead. If you've ever seen the movie Evil Dead, it has kind of a happy ending. And it's like basically the sun's coming up and she's walking into the woods, basically free. And there's just like birds chirping at the end. And I'm like, finally, a fucking horror movie that just ends. You know, it just ends and that's fucking it. There's no implying that there's further nonsense to it. You know what I mean? It's just, that's it. It's over. We killed the monster. Goodbye. I kind of hate the way that like certain horror movies end. Like they always need to have some type of stupid fucking cliffhanger, or it needs to be like so ridiculous that it's like just to make the audience say, what's the deal with, just to give like random YouTuber analysis YouTube channels like content, like the ending to Babadook explained. Like the ending to Babadook was so fucking dumb. Like why was there a thing down in the basement? Why was it worms? But then you go to like look at the explanation, people were like, oh, it's the missing father in their home or something. Like what the fuck are you talking about? Who's laughing now? Butt jokes are allowed because they are just quite wholesome to me. This is my boomstick. Now, I am aware that this was probably caused due to the influence of alcohol, but I certainly do not believe that it should be an excuse to make up for what happened, and this is my opinion. Wait, and this, in my opinion, was a very creepy and disturbing event. I'll never forget the thoughts running through my head as I sprinted home. That's why you liked Black Phone. It was beginning, middle, and end that ended things nicely. That's cool. Yeah, I have to see that. Filthy Frank is a music writer and singer now, and I think he's pretty good at it, I believe. I don't know for sure because... Yeah, I haven't listened to much of his stuff. It sounds fine. I mean, there's nothing... I don't have anything against him, but it was just kind of like... It was just such a funny, random thing. Like, such a... Well, actually, his evolution as, like, a creator makes the most sense. Like... Going from his wild and zany younger years to just like, fuck it, dude, I'm just gonna try and make something that I'm more passionate about, which is being on Jimmy Kimmel or something. With the birds, dude, that's how I felt. Well, the reason I say when I was a kid, I would hear crap in our old house and I would stay up till the morning and hearing the birds and felt safe. Yeah, isn't that interesting? Like, it's sort of a metaphor, you know what I mean? Like, you made it through the scary, and now here's the good, you know what I mean? The only thing is, it's so funny, like, how one negative comment makes me feel stinky, but it was like, somebody left a comment, they're like, the fucking birds woke me up, or something like that. I was just thinking somebody has a nice little sleep in a video, and then like just the ever slight variation in like frequent, sound frequency of like the birds just going tweet 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 tweet. It's like, what the fuck? Like maybe they would even have sort of a genetic evolutionary response to thinking like, oh, maybe it's morning, because I'm sure that's got to be built into most humans, like going to bed when the sun goes down and then hearing birds in the morning kind of wakes you the fuck up, and it's got to be built into us to a degree. But I do that so then you're forced to watch another video. Just kidding. Yeah, blame us birds. It's Hawk. That's actually a direct recording of Hawk in every video. It's unique each time. Pink Season. Oh yeah, I remember some songs from Pink Season. They were really funny. But the birds wake me up, it's not your fault, and I should have been more kind. Oh, you said that, Elvis? And maybe you were just one of many, but there was someone in the comments who was like, and I don't think it was you, but it was like they were really pissed. I think they wanted me dead, and I think they're at my house right now. Joji, Filthy Frank are the same. Modern Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Oh, that's a good point, too, yeah. I'd like to see him go back and forth. That'd be kind of awesome. Is that all he does now, though? Is just music, or? It's got to be nice, though, or at least an interesting feeling to sort of escape the YouTube creative realm, even though it's a good way to like be connected with an audience in some fashion. He probably does feel good kind of just like being separated from it, just not having to deal with the sort of negativity and the swirling, I don't know, maelstrom of nonsense that is like YouTube drama and all that bullshit. For those of you who frequent this sub, the fight-or-flight response is one that is discussed frequently. Later, this term was updated to fight, flight, or freeze to better encompass the range of human responses to acute stress. Luckily for me, I have never been a freezer. However, that doesn't mean that I always choose one of the other two responses either. Instead, when I am under stress, my brain goes into overdrive, rapidly throwing up possible solutions to my current problem. The more stressed I am, the faster it ticks. In my first post on the sub, I told of a creepy encounter where I chose flight. In the second, I chose fight. This is the story when my brain decided on a different direction. It was early in the evening in the late 2000s. I was in college, walking home from class along a busy street in the crappy neighborhood that was all I could afford to live in at the time. Out of nowhere, a car pulls up next to me and slams on the brakes. "Get in the car." The driver yells out the window at me, immediately aggressive. What? I thought to myself. I take in the scene. Old, small, beat-up red car. 4 passengers, all young guys, relatively fit, and I'm badly outnumbered. Not good. The two up front are leaning forward in their seats staring at me. Agitated, most likely on something. I can't see much of the guys in the back except they're crammed in there. Front 2 are not wearing seatbelts. Really not good. On top of that, despite other people being around, I'm in a neighborhood in a city where people don't stop to help, don't call the cops, don't get involved when they witness violence or crimes. No one walking past has slowed down or even turned our way. Really, really not good. In the couple of seconds it takes me to soak this in, the driver decides to fill in the silence. "Get in the car. I said get in the car now. We're going to a party, and you're coming with us." Even more aggressively than before. Oh boy, there goes my brain. Tick, 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 tick. This tone, this manner, this guy is expecting me to refuse. He's expecting me to get angry. It's like he is just waiting for me to escalate the interaction. And this was before I was active online. I had never heard of incels or MRAs or any of that stuff, but this guy is acting like a guy who is sick of girls refusing his advances. He's had enough, and this time he's going to put his foot down. My brain is throwing up every possible response I can make, playing out the most likely outcome and knocking them back down one by one. And finally, it lands. Though I would not know what it's called until many years later, I had just discovered fawn mode. My face cracks into a huge smile. Oh my god, that sounds like so much fun! Suddenly, I drop the smile to a look of devastation. Oh no, but I can't today. I've got dinner with my family. This sucks so much. I'd rather go to a party, but thank you for inviting me. I start slowly walking up the street, not breaking eye contact, smiling and waving, but trying to close the distance I'd have to dash if stuff goes down. The car creeps along, keeping pace with me. The driver sighs. Just get in the car. Far less aggressive. Oh my god, I can't believe this is working. I lean into the ditzy persona that I've now adopted. I'd love to, really. I want to go so much, but my family's waiting for me up the street. But you guys are so nice. I hope you have such a good time. Next time for sure I'll go. You guys are super fun, right? Yeah? I can tell. The driver's posture is becoming less tense. His grip on the steering wheel is more relaxed. And is that the beginning of a reluctant grin lifting to the side of his mouth? He likes the flattery. Dang, girl. You might just be able to crap talk your way out of this one yet. Crap talk your way? What's wrong with me? We should get together to do each other's nails. I remember one time, like, a girl in, like, middle school painted my nails black or something like that. And, I just remember my dad being very angry about it when I got home. He was like, don't you ever let her do that again. I don't know, it's just so funny. Just so upset about the stupidest shit. Cashy P, holy fuck. 51 months. Rawr, hi, let's read. I love you, crap talker. Thank you, Cashy. How long is 51 months? Holy shit, that's over 4 years, right? 4.2 years, 0.2. Holy shit. Yeah, my dad was jealous. Thank you, Cashy. Always good to see you. $51 I remember when I first started streaming, I think, Cashy, like, and I would play some games like leading up to like new releases and stuff. And you'd be chilling in there, even if there was only like less than 50 people present. That's crazy. That's me and my dad was pissed because he wanted to paint my nails. That's our time together. And Shavista with the big 20 says, always wanted to ask you about the birds, always wanted to catch you live. Thanks for the response. You're welcome, my friend. Thank you for the 20 and thanks for being here. I usually go live Sundays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays, which is the night before stories. Oh, weird. My stream screen just kind of like... Oh shit, did I lose everybody? It like just reset. Uh-oh. That's weird. The Streamlabs thing just like switched back to 0. You guys are here? Nope, still here? Okay, cool. Interesting. That was weird. Maybe, OBS just does that from time to time. This makes you think about the Queen. I'm always thinking about the Queen. I'm just always thinking about my Queen, my beloved Queen. I will die for the Queen. I will carry little granules of sugar to my Queen. Fry, you hacked my computer. Dang, girl. You might just be able to talk your way out of this one yet. Yeah, you guys look super fun. A party with some cute, fun guys. I mean, I'm so there. Call me for the next party, yeah? Promise me you'll call me. I stick out my thumb and pinky on the side of my head and start nodding at them. You just have to call me, yeah? Passenger starts nodding back first and finally slumps back in his seat. Yeah. I keep chattering. We'll have so much fun, though. Have extra fun for me. I hate that I can't be there, but promise me you'll have a great time, and promise you'll call me for the next one. The driver finally leans back in his chair and smiles back. Yeah. All right. Yeah, next time. And finally drives off. Those dozy idiots seem to have forgotten that they don't know me from Eve and don't even have my number. I wave at them, wait for them to be out of sight, and finally breathe a sigh of relief. I power walk the last few 100 meters home, go upstairs, and tell Matt and Lisa all about what happened. That is really interesting. I don't even know how that worked, but I'm glad it did. There's a new tactic for you. What if the Queen was a Let's Read fan? She probably was. Probably the last thing she heard before shitting her pants and dying was a Let's Read video. Probably, that's probably what killed her. She was probably bound to live for another 3,000 years, but she heard one of the scariest fucking stories ever on Let's Read. Just absolutely cracked out. Yeah, during that period of time, she was listening to one of my 3-hour compilations, and she forgot to shed her skin and just crumpled up. You're about to see a pro game a move. My family is British. It's like such a huge deal, but I can't relate. I mean, I guess I can understand to a certain degree of her being like the oldest lasting monarch or something, and the heritage there of being connected to like an old style of like ruling, like it was the last vestige of connection to this ancient past, you know what I mean, that had died. But at the same time, like, the family itself is wrapped up in so much fucking controversy that how can you even sit there and pretend to give a shit? I don't know, man. It's hard stuff. All respect to anybody that's mourning, I guess, but at the same time, like, you can't expect anybody else to really understand that. The Twisted technician with the 20 says, "Hey Joel, hoping you're having a great night as always. Also baked as always." Hell yeah, Twisted. Thank you, my friend. Thank you for the 20th. I appreciate you. She was warm and that was good for England. Well, now she's cold. No, I'm sorry, that's a bad joke. I'm just kidding. No, I know, I don't know. I mean, I guess maybe she was one of the only... I don't know. My gut tells me there was more to it. But hey, maybe this is just a bad take and I'm an asshole. She was warm. Yeah, so is my butthole. That's it. There you go. That's the response you've been looking for. In retrospect, for my best friend, whose life was an absolute mess as a child. Wait, what is this? On behalf of the Irish, good. Yeah, I can imagine anybody north of that area probably not a fan of any monarchy. In respect for my best friend whose life was a fucking mess as a child. I've been keeping this story inside for Yeah, I don't know. I think that's also the thing is like the being forced to hear about the monarchy and their life of the rich and famous bullshit. It's very similar to just like the mindless, celebrity drivel that you hear here, especially similar in some fashions to the Kardashians. Obviously not the same, but still, like, I've had to hear about the stupid fucking Kardashians since I was in middle school, all because the one dad got OJ off and then the daughter had a sex tape. Like, I just don't fucking care anymore, you know what I mean? And in a similar fashion, it's like, I can't be arsed with the fucking monarchy anymore. What have they ever done for my fucking life? They ever liberated me? I don't think so, bruv. And being forced to pay them. Yeah, doesn't she own all the swans in England? If you happen to accidentally kill a swan, you're fucked. She's coming back to haunt your ass. Greetings from Finland. Hello. I don't know why anybody would care for the Kardashians. Like, I mean, I can see why people would use it as a source of, like, morbid entertainment, but at the same time, for me, I've just had a fucking enough. And they've destroyed Kanye, so thanks for that. In retrospect, for my best friend, whose life was an absolute mess as a child, I've been keeping this story inside for a very long time. I'm gonna be completely honest. I have never even spoken a word to my mother before. At first, it was fear of getting social services involved. Then, after they got involved anyways, I guess too long had passed, and I just figured that she never really would benefit any from knowing. And this all happened when we were 11 years old. I'm 29 now, and it all sort of feels like a surreal dream. This feels like the appropriate place to get it out. Names changed, of course. When I was in elementary school, in Canada, that's K through 6, I was an awkward child. I have high-functioning autism, and while my grades were great, my social functioning. Joel, you could definitely have a Fox British accent. American people don't even notice when British people play American roles. Yeah, they're pretty damn good. Well, I mean, it makes sense, I guess, if they've... I mean, honestly, I think, yeah, people, like, actors from the UK are some of the best in the world, in my opinion. Yeah, you look back at, like, Dr. House, or even, I don't know, Wolverine or some shit, you know what I mean? My social fucking. Oi, I heard you got a bit of social fucking going on here. Oi, me hears that the Queen's dead. God rest the bird's soul. But she still owes me money. And a kiss. I have high-functioning autism, and while my grades were great, my social functioning was lackluster. Still is, if I'm being honest. And this left me with a fairly small, very colorful group of friends, two of the closest being Jessie and Katie. I came from a fairly overprotective household. My mother watched me like a hawk, and thus I was a naive kid. I didn't really understand that a lot of the oddness and dysfunction that would come out of my two friends had to do with problems at home. We were never allowed at Katie's house. I think her mom was extremely overweight to the point of hardly being able to move, and she was embarrassed of it. Jessie's house, however, was only a few blocks away from the school. We ended up there a lot. Her parents were divorced, and her mom was deaf and mute. My mom and her would communicate through notes when I would go over, and while she at first would always seem slightly erratic, there was no real red flags. When we first started going there, Jesse's mom was living with her boyfriend as well as her boyfriend's parents. Everyone in the household was deaf with the exception of Jesse and her younger brother, but both of them had limited hearing. I think for the first year or so that we were there, the boyfriend's parents kind of kept everything from getting too out of hand, but it was pretty clear that it was a dysfunctional household. After they moved out of the household, it was just Jesse's mom and her boyfriend. They would often lock us in the basement when I would spend the night. It was a full apartment, so we saw it as sort of fun freedom. But the one time they forgot to lock it and we walked in on them shoving needles under the table. Again, we were too young to understand, but we did understand that we walked in on something bad. From this point on, we would be designated to spend our sleepover nights in her garage, as it was furnished with carpets and couches. The issue with this was Jesse's mom always kept the door locked so we wouldn't interfere with their activities again. So when one of us had to use the washroom, we would have to knock on the basement window until Jesse's little brother would hear and let us in through the basement window to pee. Another issue being, he was hearing impaired, thus sometimes it would take a literal hour of absolute banging on that window. We were young, and this felt as close to freedom as we could get. We didn't understand why or that it was wrong or dangerous for Jesse's mother to do this, so I never told my mom, and it kept going on. One night we were doing our normal sleepover, playing Pokemon Gold, trading and battling with link cables and waiting for Jesse's mom to bring out the oven pizza that she said that she was cooking us literally hours ago. It was about midnight, no bedtime in that household, and Katie said that she really had to pee. She was trying to wait for Jesse's mom to bring in the pizza so she could go through the door, but she couldn't hold it. She goes out by herself to try to rouse Jesse's little brother, Aaron. We were expecting it to take her a little while, but to our surprise, she comes back extremely quickly, locking the garage door behind her and latching the lift door, and she looks really startled. She tells us that she was knocking to try to get Aaron's attention when she hears a rustle from the bush next to the gate going to the front yard. It takes her a minute to realize what she's looking at, but standing about 5 feet from the gate, 15 feet from the window Katie is at, is a tall man, dressed completely in black. She said it seemed like he was just appearing out of the darkness, or like he was waiting for something. He asked her if she'd managed to lock herself out, while slowly taking a step towards the gate. As she gets up and takes a step back, his pace quickens towards her and she sprints back to the garage. At first, we thought she was just messing with us. We laughed and told her to stop messing around, and then we heard it. Hard twisting of the locked doorknob. Then worse, the sound of scratching metal against the doorknob. He was trying to pick the lock. We stood in absolute fear for a moment, then grabbed the only pathetic things around that we could use to try to defend ourselves. Then it just abruptly stopped. There were no windows in her garage and no peephole on the door. We couldn't see what was going on. And we waited for about 10 minutes, having no idea where the man was, if he was still out there, where her mom was, or where that freaking pizza had got to. But we were still sitting ducks in there. He had clearly failed to pick the lock, but who knows if or what he would try next. Now, this was stupid, but we were stupid scared children. We grabbed our weapons, which consisted of glorified sticks, and we left that garage. At first, there was no sign of any man. We moved towards the downstairs window and started slamming on it, screaming and pleading for Aaron to open it again. And again, that's when we heard it. It was in an almost sing-song, mocking voice that rang out, "Well, hello again." 3 men, all in black. The one in the middle had spoken. They made a move forward, and we once again sprinted back to the garage. This time they just straight up tried to kick the door in, all 3 of them stomping and kicking, and it seemed like it was close to giving in, and then everything stopped. Jesse's mother had come out the back door, pizza in hand, and startled them. She ran back inside and got her boyfriend and his 2 other friends, users travel in packs, I guess, and they were able to chase them off with some actual weapons, I'm guessing. We were still inside the garage, and we could honestly just hear it. The adults stayed in the backyard all night, weapons in hand. One person even sat on the roof with a compound bow. Yes, you read that right, a compound bow. And night turned to morning, and it all settled down. We never stayed at Jessie's house for sleepovers after that. She was put into the care of her grandparents shortly after. It took me a really long time to actually grasp what happened that night, but considering they never called the police, I'm fairly sure we almost got literally murdered over some drug debt Jessie's mother had. I can't even imagine the evils that could have gone on that night if fate wasn't on my side. Something tells me those 3 men were way too happy to find children to take as penance, and would hardly have just been a straightforward murder. Wait, what? Your hips hurting from taking 2 walks? Maybe you just need to do some stretching or something like that. You could probably... On YouTube, there's a ton of great stretching videos for hips and stuff. You probably just need to kind of do some little bit of yoga action. The way I let you go in the longest without making a mistake, I knew he wasn't real. I know, I'm a fake AI monster. Could you watch the beginning of The Evil Within on Fire Gamer Owen's channel right now? It'll be very quick, and then you can get back to your live stream. Well, I don't think I can do that, but if I remember, maybe I'll give it a glance later. You can tag me on social media or something like that, but as far as just, because it would only be me watching it, I don't really have a screen share thing. But it's a good game though, for sure. Hips are the hardest to get really stretched. Yeah, hips just have so much interconnective stuff, whether it's your hip flexors or the glutes or your back or your hamstrings or just everything in between, you know what I mean? But hey, as long as you might have to just go through sort of a regimen of stretching all those particulars. Yesterday in Center City, Philadelphia, I tried to stop a dude from shoplifting at CVS, and all I gotta say is, let's not me. Yeah, that doesn't sound fun at all. Honestly, I would, at this point, depending on how those cities are run, I wouldn't even fucking try to interfere out of fear of getting hurt. Just call the fucking police, and if they don't answer, then I don't know, as long as it's not your fucking store, in the sense of you losing money. Pradeep's playing with a little ball now. What are you doing over there, stinker? I'm afraid I can't let you do that, Joel. Man, he's really playing with that ball right now. Hold on. I must go interrupt his playtime so I can record. It's so funny. Here's the boy. I want to see my little boy. Here he comes. You guys ready for me to pat his belly? It's full of lean. There's lean in there. He's such a baby. He's such a little stinky baby. Okay. Something tells me those 3 men were way too happy to find children to take as penance, and it would hardly have just been a straightforward murder. It still makes me shudder. What kind of music I'm into? I like all types of music, honestly. What does my cat look like? He is a black cat, but he's got 7 lucky white hairs on his chest. Like, literally 7. After all this time, I just realized you're probably an AI next generation voice generator like Dolly too. Oh, pretty scratching the shit out of the... He always gets pissed and he does his scratches. But yeah, I'm actually not available to the public yet, but as soon as the CIA determines that my base code is valuable to release to the public, they will. And then all of you will have me in your homes anytime you want me. And you can type whatever you want into the chat and I'll say it. I'll say it. Joelbot. The Joel bot. You got over 30 cats? Or I hope they're all outside. How do I switch my voice? It's code switching. But in this situation, it's actually switching the code like a robot. Like you have to type new code in. 0s and 1s. It scares my aunt, but I'm used to it except when I take a bath. I don't like hearing it. What are you talking about? You don't like your aunt gets scared when you take a bath? Yeah, I'm gargling oil. Oh, that'd be so sick to meet a baby hippo. That would be fucking awesome. Remember that one video where the guy's like, he's crouched down, like, talking about the baby hippo behind the gate? And then, like, all of a sudden the baby hippo just, like, walks around the gate and is, like, right next to him. He's like, oh! How many stories left? We got 2 more. 2 more medium-sized stories. I write this as a 36-year-old man. You'll have to bear with me as the details of the story are vague and a bit of a blur, but I will share what I remember. Now, in the summer of 1993, I was in 1st grade. My parents had been divorced for many years, with my mother having sole custody. As a child, I barely remembered my father, but he would make his brief appearance or send gifts on Christmas or my birthdays. Seeing my dad always made me happy, as I was far too young to comprehend the complexities of a battered relationship or marriage. After school one day, I was shocked to come outside and see my father waiting for me. My grandma usually picked me up from school, but never my father. He had a small black car. My voice cracked. Squacked. Never think about doing a collab with Mr. Nightmare. I'd like to, but you know, he's quite large and in charge. So maybe one day, maybe he'll... I don't think he does collabs really with anybody. I remember he did like a promo for the guy Dwight Schrute, Rainn Wilson, had like a podcast he was starting that was kind of like true crimey. Has anybody listened to that at all? You want my voice when your Waze app. Dude, the Waze app is pretty fucking sweet. Andrew, peace out, my friend. He had a small black car, a beater. He always seemed to dress nice, suspenders and slacks, hair pulled back in a tight ponytail. and I remember getting into his car and smelling what I now know as an adult to be clove. I later gathered that he had a habit of rolling his own cigarettes and gained gained. What does that mean? Gained. I gotta piss. I later gathered that he had a habit of rolling his own cigarettes and gained that he must have been in a clove phase. There was a gap in time, and now it's nighttime and I'm watching the fluorescent lights from miscellaneous stores fly by my passenger seat window. A gas station I can't remember, Brahms ice cream at an intersection, and more time loss. I'm now running around with another kid in and out yellow-lit apartment corridors. Some doors are open and we go into one. There are kids in the back bedroom playing Sega. I watch as Sonic zips through loops and listen to familiar music that momentarily makes me feel safe. I suddenly realize I'm very alone with complete strangers, and I find my way back outside. Another gap in memory. My belly is full from bean burritos, and I'm looking down a very dark hallway in my father's apartment. I'm standing next to an aquarium giving blue ambient light that sits on my face. I want to go home. Something doesn't feel right. In an attempt to comfort me, my father gives me a toy flashlight that projects the Batman symbol. I shine it down the black hallway. The cheap plastic of the switch fidgets and stubbornly slides, clicking on and off. My father is on the phone and he's upset, voice raised. I apologize for not knowing what happened next, but I can confidently say that I was safely returned by my father. My mother had no idea where he lived, and we would sometimes drive around at night in efforts to find the mentioned landmarks to trigger my memory. I haven't thought much about this until tonight, and it really made me feel wrong and uncomfortable. As you may have guessed, I don't have a relationship with him anymore. Fuck. I don't really know. That story didn't make any sense, but I do gotta piss really bad. So. It's so weird. The viewership is so confusing on this. It was at like 700, and now it's like down to 400 out of nowhere. Let me pee real quick, and I'll be back. I'm sorry. I'm back. Welcome back to Joey's World Tour. Yeah, you like that song? In My Core A by Secede. Just got comfy in bed, and of course my cats Bandit and Fat Man, as I call him, decided to join me. Time to cuddle up with them and listen to the last two stories. Well, we actually only have one left. Horror on the Rocks with the 5 says, hey Joel, just starting out this whole podcast thing. Any tips? Fuck, man, I don't know. Because, like, I had to have success on YouTube to transfer people over to my podcast. But I definitely would suggest... exciting news, actually. Good news, everyone. And you may not have heard this yet, but YouTube is now enabling the ability to monetize your shorts on YouTube, similar to TikTok, but whereas TikTok only pays people from a specific fund of money, right? Because they run your ads before and after your content, so therefore they only they run a very like communistic sort of like approach of payment, where like everyone only gets a percentage from a set fund. So even if TikTok does better advertising wise and viewers wise, you still only get the same amount percentage based on your views. The cool thing about YouTube is they're now offering the ability to monetize your shorts, but they're actually giving you a 45% ad share, I think, with the ads that are ran, so you can actually make money off your shorts. There's the monetization, the ability to monetize stipulations are a lot less compared to long form content on YouTube now. And you can monetize your khakis. Can you give us a dab? Dab. But anyways, so monetize your shorts. Yeah, monetize your khakis. But yeah, so basically my suggestion for you as a new podcast would be to really basically take clips from your podcast, the ones you find interesting, that you can put like clickbaity titles and thumbnails and all that bullshit on, and put them on TikTok, put them on Instagram Reels, put them on, because that shows up on Facebook, put them on the new YouTube thing, literally start a whole channel for your shorts clips, you know what I mean? And then along with like having your typical podcast on YouTube, because YouTube is going to start doing stuff in regards to podcasts as well, where it's like, I'm not exactly sure if the RSS feed is going to be associated with your YouTube channel. I'm not sure about that, but I did hear that they're going to help to push out podcasts as a whole and start basically appealing to like a really, really broad market of like shorts, long form videos, live streaming, fucking podcasting. It's looking good, you know what I mean? You got 8 more hours at work. What the hell are you doing for work? I feel like you've told me that before, but the inside of your podcast has been doing shorts. The inside of you podcast has been doing shorts? Wait, what do you mean? Thank you for the tips and tricks. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and obviously, there's going to be people within your niche, your circle, your network. I would suggest just, professionally trying to interact with them as best you can, interact within those circles, see if you can do collaborations, have guests on, whatever it is, guest narration, whatever it might be, ask if you can narrate on other people's stuff. Like, the more you get your name out there, just the better it is. But as far as like advertising right now, Shorts and TikTok seem to have the most organic reach. Mr. Balin, I'm fairly certain, got most of his reach and knowledge of his existence of his YouTube channel and podcast, which are huge now, literally from doing TikTok. Now, maybe he got in at the right time, but I'm telling you right now might be the right time for YouTube Shorts, because those are going to be really starting to pop off soon. Well, they already are, but you know. This live stream is really nice and loud. Is it loud? I'm sorry if I'm blowing your ears out. All right, friends. We got one more story left for the night. You need to know some key information that'll be shown in about 20 seconds. I and my brother and girlfriend all play airsoft on the weekend, and I also sleep with no clothes on. I was home alone as my mother was at her parents' house for the night. I was 14 at the time when I was living in a weird and not so good neighborhood. Surely not the type of people who murder people, but the type of people where you'd have to check everywhere to make sure that it's locked twice to feel like you're safe. Luckily for me, when I came back from airsoft, my brother and girlfriend and I locked the doors and window, but I forgot that I had burned something in the oven earlier and had to keep one of the kitchen windows open. I live only with my mother and my German Shepherd, who is actually a monster. And around 3 in the morning, I hear my dog bark viciously near my kitchen window, and what I've known over the years, if my dog's barking that viciously, I knew that it was something bad. I put on some underwear and I got my gun off the wall and walked into the kitchen and turned on the light to find that there was a man wearing black clothes and night vision goggles, blaring a green light glowing at the ceiling, and he was half in and half out of the kitchen window, almost wiggling like a worm, and it's a tough window to get into. The window was about eye level. I cocked my gun back ready to fire and screamed at him to get out of my house. He stared at me, completely confounded considering that he's been caught by 14-year-old me wearing just underwear and aiming a rifle towards him. He looked panicked at the fact that the rifle was aimed straight at him. He quickly rolled out of the window and ran into the nearby woods. I called the police and made a report with every detail that I could remember. And a week later, a girl actually went missing. She was home alone and there was no sign of forced entry, and the man had been caught for assault and the murder of 2 children just 2 streets away. In this police investigation, he confessed to stalking the children by watching their houses at night, as he used night vision goggles with green lights to see their every action. And he does tons of YouTube shorts and has for a long time. Nice. Yeah, they're good. I need to do them, but I just honestly it wouldn't be bad. I need to like find a way to do YouTube shorts with I don't even know. Lynn with the 2 says, much love, Daddy Joel. Can't make it to the end tonight. No worries. We are actually at the end now. Excessive wiggling. He was called the Wiggler Strangler. If you believe you're going to get murdered and you think about it too much, do you think you're going to manifest your own murder? I don't think you can manifest other people to murder you. I almost feel like if you're thinking about it too much, you would be more likely to be in not a situation to get murdered, hopefully. But yes, another good one in the books. I gotta read this outro script, and then today we did, what was today? Yesterday was push, today was pull for lifting, and then tomorrow's legs. So I'm almost thinking if I did like ass blaster squats, I would be dead for tomorrow. I keep feeling like somebody's going to break into my house and kill me. Wonder why. I don't think that they would. I mean, especially if you're just like thinking that. I don't know why. You know what I mean? Doesn't make any sense. Much love from Kansas City. Thank you, Jessica. Thank you, thank you. Alright, let me read this outro. You guys think of something funny for me to say at the end. Hey friends, thanks for listening. Click that notification bell to be alerted of all future narrations. I release new video. Click that notification bell to be alerted of all future narrations. I release new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And if you got a story, be sure to submit them to my subreddit, r/Let'sReadOfficial, and maybe even hear your story featured on the next video. And if you want to support me even more, grab early access to all future narrations and bonus content over on Patreon, or click that big join button to hear about the extra perks offered for the channel. And check out the Let's Read podcast, where you can hear all of these stories in big compilations and save huge on data, located anywhere you listen to podcasts. Links in the description below. Thanks so much, friends. Do I actually use the Chilling app? Yeah, I literally make content for the Chilling app. Like like every month, I make new content for them. They are my boss in many ways, in regards to that at least. Them probes. Don't trust aliens. There's a couple gaming channels that may sponsor you to do true crime and stuff like that. Maybe ghost stories, of course, they get a cut, but the one I know will pay for the background and all. I don't understand what you mean. Gaming channels that may sponsor me to do true crime and stuff. What do you mean, true crime? Or like, what do you mean? Like, I don't understand. Am I on their channel, or are they on my channel? Like, or what is happening there? And remember, chop chop, like onion. Always have a sword ready. Always have your hand and a half bastard sword. You want spicy chicken nugs? Wiggle while you work. There we go. Thanks so much, friends. And remember to always wiggle while you work. Spicy chicken McNuggos. Sorry I'm late, I forgot you still post. Yes, Mr. Brightside, I still be going ham jam. And it's no worries. Don't forget to bring a towel. Monetize your sweet shorts. Well, my friends, I don't even know. I'm not even sure like what type of exercise would be even cool right now, because tomorrow's leg day. I did pull today. It was basically a bunch of just like back exercises and stuff. I hate abs. I hate ab shit, man. First you want to kill me, now you want to kiss me. Sunday, Monday, happy days. Tuesday, Wednesday, happy days. Thursday, Friday, happy days. Saturday, what a day. Dibba-dib-dibba-doo. For deep curls, yeah. Yeah, today I was really trying to focus on just that, like, super isolation, because that was at the end of the workout, like curls, but just not, like, bending the elbows and keeping everything in alignment. It's kind of frustrating sometimes. What's my favorite food? Lasagna is pretty fucking good. Give Pradeep the biggest kiss from me, Joel. Picking my suggestion. Oh, no worries, I shall. Skip today, take it easy. Yeah, that sounds like good to me. I don't even know. If you guys think of a cool exercise to do, or something that would be challenging in the body weight sense, because I don't have if I had a pull-up thing, I'd be doing pull-ups, because I kind of wouldn't mind trying to get good at those, but I don't really have that available here. But if you ever have an idea for one, let me know. But anyways, guys, thanks so much for everything. It was a great stream as always. Thank you for the support and love. Appreciate you. You guys make things, yeah, cock push-ups. You guys make things a lot of fun and make this recording process much easier. But like I said, tomorrow's video is going to start out with a live action, fully acted out, true scary story that I'm narrating, but it's going to be live action with like actors and film and all that goody. And it's done by the Dark Echoes YouTube channel. So be sure to go over to Dark Echoes right now and subscribe to them. So you can be hit up, because basically that's going to be part one. That's going to be at the beginning, and then there's a brief intermission where I say more stories to come, but be sure to subscribe over to Dark Echoes for part two, and then you'll be able to see part two, which I'm also narrating, and they make a ton of cool, awesome content over on Dark Echoes, and they're back, baby. They are back, especially for the Halloween season. Is it? Yeah, Dark Echoes, right? Yeah. But yeah, so stay tuned for that. It's gonna be sick. I think this is video. There was so many actually interesting stories tonight, so I think tomorrow's video is actually gonna be fucking one for the ages. So yeah, stay tuned for that. Gonna get it up on Patreon first. Early access over there is only $1 a month. All that good stuff, and then we'll get it up on YouTube. 7 p.m. Haters with the 2 says, am I muted for being too obnoxious and annoying? I don't think so. Did you get muted? I apologize. I don't think, I mean, I didn't mute you. Maybe, do you mean just because there wasn't a response, or, yeah, I don't know. Dark Geckos, yeah. The Dark Echoes. It's a whole lizard channel. How do I get to Dark Echoes? Yep, so it's a YouTube channel. It's just called Dark Echoes, and you'll see it. It looks like kind of similar thumbnail style to my own with like creepy text, but like they're really good. Like ton of just, it's like student acting, but like professionally directed and edited. And how to do the dark, yeah, you can find it on YouTube, youtube.com, where you're already presumably at right now, and go to Dark Echoes, type that in. But anyways, thank you guys again, and I will see you soon. Adios.